We're live.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Inside Movies Galore. And hopefully, y'all have been having some fun with us as we've been exploring films that may have accidentally been scary. So, Brandon, why don't you take it away and tell us exactly what movie we have in store for you? Sit back, relax, and open up your chocolates.
Yes, I have the 1971 Mel Stuart film called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, um, which is a film essentially about this child who is in the poor kids section of town, but he manages to get a wonderful experience where he finds a magical golden ticket which allows him to tour a mysterious chocolate factory run by a sadist and potential serial killer.
I like to think of him as an eccentric.
Oh wait, that was the Johnny Depp version. But but in any case, good film nevertheless. So why don't we start with Brittany? Was this your first time with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Absolutely not. I've seen this movie several times. It is, of course, a movie of my childhood, and I'm one of those people that like to watch it when it comes out on Thanksgiving.
Ah, very good. Did you like it a lot?
Oh yeah, love the film.
Very cool. How about you, Dave? Your first time watching it?
No, definitely not. It was definitely a film of my childhood, and I feel like this is a timeless classic because it even speaks to it speaks to me now, even when I watch it, and I can watch this film over and over. It is actually one of my favorites. So, and I have a lot of them, but but yeah, I like watching this film oftentimes with someone else, and it's probably one of the best musicals that's out there to me. And honestly, it shows a little bit of like poverty a little bit, and I think I like the fact that it shows that poverty, but in any case, moving on.
All right. Well, Jake, was this your first time watching this movie?
Definitely not, although I have a weird and complicated relationship with this one. I honestly couldn't say when I first saw it, but I believe that it was around the time that the Tim Burton version came out in the early aughts.
Really?
I did not grow up with this movie. I grew up with the references. I grew up knowing about Willy Wonka, and I knew some of the broad strokes. But what's up?
Oh, did you ever read the book growing up?
No, I actually have read the book, but not until probably 3 or 4 years ago.
I did.
I actually had relatively little influence from Roald Dahl overall growing up. Since then, I've come to see a few of the films over the years. The excellent Matilda version with Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman, and Steven Spielberg's version of the BFG. I quite enjoyed that. I've seen a few good ones, but hey Dustin, and I do hope one day we discuss the Tim Burton one because it's interesting. But actually, one of the reasons why I'm so sure it was late was I'm almost certain that I saw this after I saw the Family Guy episode Wasted Talent, where Peter went to the Pawtucket Brewery.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful spoof. I'm almost disappointed Dane's not here to shout me down for mentioning Family Guy.
Hey,
but it was a
That's
great
good one at
spoof
Futurama,
episode.
too, yeah.
And so when I saw the film, I was checking off all the boxes like, okay, I know what they, and then of course I've seen the Burton film too. So this is probably my third time with this particular version. It's probably the first time I've seen it in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. So basically it's one that I have less firsthand knowledge than I might, but it's an interesting example of one of those ones where pop culture can really get you halfway there, and then you see the movie and you're like, I get it now. And it is interesting. I don't have the nostalgia goggles that everyone else does, but I can see the film on its own merits, and it's interesting.
Well, this was definitely the first time that I had actually seen the wrinkles in the Candyman's face for some reason.
Did you watch it in a better presentation than before?
No, I actually noticed it on like the regular like 40th anniversary DVD.
Okay.
To me, I could see it's something that I picked up while I was watching it.
See, I was watching the DVD on a high def TV, and it looked pretty bad. I was able to enjoy the film, but I'd really like to go back and watch it in a better presentation.
Yeah, I was enjoying my 4K viewing of it.
The copy I had was pretty good, so I didn't particularly mind or notice anything.
So before we move on, Dane couldn't be with us this time, and Jake has agreed to read off his tribute for us.
All right, then. He says, I first saw this film in college when I was catching up on children's films I'd never seen when I was a kid. I loved how dark and fucked it was in parts while being genuinely hilarious in a lot of places and heartwarming in others. I can see why it's so beloved and how it still holds up, despite some of the overall aesthetic being very obviously from the early 70s. And of course, he makes a Kubrick reference. The film came out the same year as Clockwork Orange. What a mashup that would have been. Arguably, Gene Wilder's best performance, and his dialogue ranges from extremely clever to extremely creepy, then peppered with kindness and wisdom in the end. And I'm going to real quickly say that I do also agree with the idea that Gene Wilder was very well cast in that role.
Oh, yes, very much. Well, let's go on to Crypt of Horrors. Is this your first time seeing this, Dustin?
Oh no, I've seen this plenty of times throughout my lifetime, although the occasions where I've actually sat down and seen it start to finish are somewhat rare. This is usually something that I catch in parts as it's airing in some way or another. So I think this is the first time I've seen this movie in at least 5 years, where I sat down and watched it in full from start to finish. And it's just such a solid movie. Like, it holds up. It doesn't particularly how do I put this into words? It doesn't particularly make me feel any very strong ways. It's just like, well, that was great. Yeah. Is kind of the reaction I have to it. I never got particularly scared or anything by it. Even when I was younger, like, I was just kind of enjoying the ride. Speaking of ride, the part that freaks everybody out, I don't think ever freaked me out. And when we got there, I was just kind of watching it with a blank expression on my face, because I I used to have a walking around town playlist when I lived in a small town, and that little speech he gives was actually on that playlist, so I would hear that every day, and it was like, yep, this is on again. So he didn't freak me out this time, but I'm sure that is a different thing for other people here. So yeah, I had a good time revisiting this. There's so much like memorable, iconic stuff in here. Like once they get to the actual factory, like everything is just so iconic and great. The setup is a little slow, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, I forgot that happened. I had quite a few moments like that, but afterwards, it's just, oh, this movie is so good. So, positive impressions all around. I love it.
All right. How about you, Forrest? This your first time watching Willy Wonka?
Far from it. This was a childhood favorite. This is also a childhood favorite of mine. Watched it multiple times growing up, and I also I was a big Roald Dahl was one of my favorite authors as a kid. James the Giant Peach, the BFG, Matilda. I read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So this was one of those instances where I saw the movie before I read the book. I will say the Tim Burton movie is a little, in some respects, a little more faithful to the book. But I definitely find this to be the better of the two movies. Mainly because a lot of it boils down to Gene Wilder, because he was I agree. I agree with Dane. Was perfectly cast for this. I think this is this and Frederick Frankenstein are probably his two most iconic roles.
Right.
Someone's going to say something?
You have anything else on first impression?
Oh yeah, anyway, I was just going to talk the movie itself. Yeah, all time. It's a classic. I agree. It's definitely it's funny. Agree with a lot of what Dane said. It's funny. It's dark in places. Also very sweet. It's very sweet. Like, it's definitely a great family film. I think, I kind of agree with Dustin. Like, this movie never really creeped me out. I guess the part where Charlie's outside the beginning, when Charlie's outside the factory and there's that dude with the cart with the knife cart was a little weird, but
that was right out of a horror film.
Yeah.
It's like he was like Ralphie from the Harbinger. That was the word I was looking for.
But the tunnel scene, which everybody says is the scary part, for me that was more trippy than scary. And I would say my sentiments of that scene echo how Charlie and Grandpa Joe felt riding through that tunnel, where they thought it was weird but fun.
All right. Kroll, is this your first time watching Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Definitely not. Also grew up watching this movie. Saw it several times as a child. I've not seen it in quite a while. Not exactly sure how long, but it's definitely been quite a while. So it was a treat to watch it again. I agree, it's one of Gene Wilder's best. To me, when I hear Gene Wilder, characters, this and Young Frankenstein are the two that stand out the most for me. Definitely an iconic role for him. The movie is just fun to watch. The music is fun. The whole thing, like you said, brings you those funny parts and weird parts, and yeah. I never got scared at all, but like I said, I grew up watching tons of horror movies, and they stopped scaring me too. So, this definitely didn't scare me at all. Watching that tunnel scene, I kind of completely forgot about it. So it was like you said, trippy is definitely a good word for it. It was definitely weird and odd, but definitely fun to watch. And his speech during You know, if I was in the ride, I might have been like a little like scared, like what the hell's going on? Where he's like, you know, the freakiness around and the speech added to the freakiness, but yeah, it was overall a great film. Those Oompa Loompas are a little odd as well. You never quite know if they're like fun little people or little people that are gonna chop you up.
Yeah, I've been told that the tunnel scene, the imagery you see could be different depending on the cut you watch. Some of the imagery is more disturbing in one cut than the other, from what I've heard. But yeah, it is one of those.
I remembered snakes in the first one I saw, and I don't think I spotted snakes in this one.
Well,
like,
the version I have still has the chicken head.
I think there was like a centipede, like a centipede crawling across a guy's face.
Yeah, I got that on the one I had.
Yeah, I remember they like chopping off a chicken head as one of them. But yeah, I understand. I mean, that wasn't the main reason I nominated it either, actually, for Accidentally Scary. It was more the knife sharpening guy. But we have one more person.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know how it is. You get a lot of business sharpening knives with Willy Wonka plays.
I mean, Charlie was more scared of other people.
He was more scared of Slugworth.
What about you, Tammy? Is this your first time watching Willy Wonka?
No, definitely not. I don't remember the exact first time, but first time I remember watching it was with my dad, and because he's a big Gene Wilder fan, and it was really enjoyable the first time. And the scene that you guys are all talking about, I remember my dad going, "Ooh," you know, making noises as all these things are flashing up on, you know, in the background, he was trying to make it scary, because I wasn't scared, but he was trying to make it scary. But I definitely have enjoyed it over the years. I think Gene Wilder, like everybody said, is perfect for this. He brings a little bit of everything. He's comic, you know, and he can be a little dark and just be a little just off the wall. And I think that's a lot. His character is what helps bring this to, you know, bring it to life. And you get to see a little bit of everything in this movie. You get to see the poverty, you get to see the people that are rich and how they act, and you get to see, you know, dreams come true.
Very good. Yeah, I have been watching this off and on a lot since childhood. I really liked it. You know, as a little kid, I just loved the candy aspect of it. But yeah, Slugworth outside that Gasworks, which was the original factory that they made into the Willy Wonka chocolate factory, that was a very creepy, just a creepy scene for me as a kid. But oddly enough, the tunnel didn't. I didn't realize the tunnel was even scary until I was an adult. And well, now I can see where it might be creepy to some children or some people. But to me, it was a great film, a staple in the household, and one that I like to revisit. I was lucky enough to get the 4K for my birthday this year. And this was a great opportunity to watch it. It looks pretty good in 4K. I think that Blu-ray was all it really needed, but I think that Blu-ray is a step above the DVD release. So it is a beautiful film. It has some good colors in it, so I'm glad to have gotten an upgrade. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started into the plot. And it's a very interesting thing, because this film was pretty much all done in Munich, which you you get to even see a European chocolate factory at work in the beginning of this film, which is which I did like that, because you get to see all the chocolate being made as you go.
Well, yeah, you get
And
to see the cocoa bean and where it
Yeah.
starts.
y'all saw my comment, no doubt, but I'm sitting there going, holy crap, I totally forgot this started out as a food porn. Because that's
And I
kind of
was
what
like,
that scene is like. It's like,
I was like,
Well, the film-
am I watching another episode of Mr. Rogers, or what is this?
David,
Well-
you didn't even know that those were cocoa beans. You thought they were nuts.
Yeah, they did look like nuts.
well, I mean and of course
Wow.
the actual movie was made to sell chocolate. I mean, they had a company that they were going to make the Wonka
Rose.
bars, and because of that, they managed to finance most of the film. So it's kind of that was made to sell chocolate. Of course, the film has remained much longer than the iconic bar itself.
They actually still do.
Right.
I actually think you can go to CVS and still buy them.
Well, it's
Those
a
are from
different.
Hershey's.
Yeah, it's a different one. It's
Yeah.
not the original. The original German company, or I think it was German company. It was a company. I think it was
wasn't
European.
it Quaker? Wasn't it
I don't know.
Quaker?
Oh wait, yeah, it was Quaker.
Rose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were the original owners of the Wonka line, which just did not do so well. But the film originally flopped on a debut, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now-
Nestle owns it now.
Is
The,
it Nestle or Hershey? I thought Hershey was the one that owned them. The Wonka brand.
I don't know, they're the ones that do everlasting gobstoppers now, and gosh, they don't make those anymore. I just think it's like
Yeah, they do.
like
They make
Tartan
gobstoppers and
Tinies,
Nerds. Your favorite, Brandon?
and Nerds, yeah, and all of that. And they had a Wonka bar that they came out with, I think, on the 40th anniversary, which was a very different one from the original one. The original one was just chocolate, but this one was chocolate with a graham cracker on the bottom, and I liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, that's the one I had. And Nestle is the one that Nestle holds the rights to the Wonka name for candy.
So, with that, we go into a song which was it Little Richard that wrote it? I can't think. Was that right? But in any case,
Candyman. Yeah, I think
Candyman.
it was Little Richard.
And which he almost played the iconic role. But they have this wonderful scene at the beginning where you've got a bunch of kids, and this guy is just giving out candy. My first thing whenever I see Charlie looking in is like, man, I wish I was rich enough to get free candy. But it is an iconic song that, to me, is one of the most iconic in the film. What did y'all think of this scene?
Well, it's a great way to start the movie off, first of all. And it is, like, if you ask somebody, hey, do you know about this movie? It's probably what they'll remember the most. It also had a really cool, like, very creepy cover in the new Candyman, like in the intro.
Yeah. Sammy
I
Davis
really
Jr.'s
enjoyed.
version.
Yeah, it was
Okay,
great.
Sammy Davis, that's the one.
I had forgotten that was featured in there. I must have missed that, but
I wonder how it would have looked if they had had the other actor portraying that role. The original reason why they had decided against it is they didn't want any big stars throwing it out. They wanted the song to just go on its own. But still, I mean, that scene was iconic to me. All the candy flying about, and as a kid, that just drew me in. It's probably one of, I'll agree with Dustin, it's probably one of two, with the second for me being the one that we come in later with the Candy Room.
But I would say,
definitely.
I think the song itself, the song itself is a classic.
yeah.
Although nowadays when I hear it, I also am reminded of the Simpsons parody, The Garbage Man. like scenes. But yeah, that scene. It's. I mean, again, the song itself was a classic. But watching it as an adult now, I get cavities watching it. I feel like I get cavities watching it because they consume so much sugar.
All the different candies, and of course in Munich, they have
And
options on a much better candy and soda. I would have loved to have had a candy store that was like that when I was a kid. I got to see candy stores, but that one was just particularly cool. I like the just the aesthetic and everything like that. And
right, it is. What's that?
And I liked how they had it designed. It could be that candy store could have been anywhere in the world, really. Europe, United States, it could have been out there.
I mean, they don't really disclose where this town is. Even though it's obviously Germany, but
which is a change from the book, which took place obviously in the UK.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, you say obviously Germany, but it seems like most people are speaking with either slight or definite kind of British accents, and
I would say a mix of British and American.
Right.
I mean, didn't Charlie say he found $1 in the sewer when he went?
He might have.
But
to me, it's just when I looked at it, I'm looking at the German cars. This is just even as a kid, I was like, this is I didn't necessarily think German, but I didn't think England either. I was like, this is somewhere in like Europe, and so and Munich is a beautiful city.
I like to, although because you were talking about like how all those kids seem to be getting candy for free, but considering that this candy shop owner later had Charlie pay, asked Charlie for the payment.
That's only for the poor kids,
Yeah.
See, I like to think those kids. I like to think those kids all ran up very high tabs.
He must be like, oh, I can give y'all credit, but then he's like throwing candy down, and they're cleaning out the gumball machine. It's just like
cleaning out the soda fountain.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, if they are on credit, then it's probably in their parents' names, and they probably don't even think twice about, oh, you gave me all this candy, yay, and then their parents will get the bill and go,
that bill and the dentist bill.
I gotta say though, that dude, his work duds, those some styling duds, right?
Yeah.
So does anybody else here have anything else to say about the Candyman scene? Tammy, Kroll?
I like the scene. Yeah, it was definitely cool watching them sing and tossing all the candy out, and all the kids like, hey, me. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, poor Charlie's just in there watching all these kids getting free candy, and he can't even afford to get free candy. I definitely related to that.
I think this scene is definitely iconic. The song is definitely memorable, and just to think that this was a storefront of like actual candy, like before it became like the plasticized candy that you see in candy stores these days in super malls. I feel like where you actually get to see like licorice rope, or actually thick licorice rope, things of that nature that are strung throughout the place,
Brittany, you were gonna
actually I'm gonna go a little bit differently. I remember the first time when I was watching this, he actually kind of creeped me out a little bit. I think it's probably because I grew up during the 80s and 90s where they're warning you about don't take candy from strangers. And I'm just seeing these kids run in and grab all this candy.
Yeah.
Well, you see, that's the alternate version of the song, the Candyman.
I was kind of thinking about that too.
I think the guy's probably been background checked.
Yeah, I mean, he was first, he was a business owner, and second of all, it was the 70s.
Yeah, like I say, that's the alternative version. I think of the candy van. But How about you,
People were
Tammy?
more trusting then. Go ahead, Tammy.
I really liked it. I thought it was cute and unique, with all the candy and the kids, and he's handing out the candy, and his I seem to remember years ago that that my great grandparents took me to like Northridge, and I thought that they had like a candy store in there years ago.
I specifically remember going trick or treating in Northridge Mall before they closed it down, where you could actually go to every single storefront, and you would be able to get like 2 to 3 pieces of candy, or they bring something and put it in your bag or something like that.
Well, I was talking about like an actual candy store, where they had the stuff kind of set up the same way, but it was in a mall, but I mean, still had the candy set up the same way. And I just thought that was neat. You don't see things like that anymore nowadays.
Really? Yeah. Well, it doesn't help that malls are dying. Although I used to work at a mall when I was in college, and I remember we did that on Halloween, back about 15 years ago.
Well, actually, we have one here in Richmond, Virginia. That's actually actual candy store in Carytown. One of the best places for the love of chocolate. Got to give a shout out to them.
That's a good one.
Now that one doesn't have the room to dance about in, though.
No. And there are some other too. Like I haven't been up there in a minute, but I think there was one at Stony Point Fashion Park as well. That was a pretty decent little, but it wasn't quite as good as that one. I know which one you're talking about.
There was one, actually one at Short Pump as well. That's that one actually has a little bit of room to dance, but there's never anybody in there.
I think Short Pump still has that one.
Actually, that might be the one I'm thinking of. I'm getting confused.
There were a couple that tried in Stony Point, but that one that particular one is a ghost town, so nothing survived very well. But I guess we'll move on. So of course we're introduced to Charlie Bucket, and he finishes his with that unfortunate last name there. But I guess that's a good symbolism of, hey, you're poor as hell.
Hey, but he embraces it. It's not like the Bucket family Keeping Up Appearances where they keep constantly. No, it's Bouquet.
So I look. He's related to the people who were directly affected by the War of the Bucket, and they're longing to get their bucket back. But he's on a paper route, and of course he gets paid, so he's able to come home.
What's interesting is he's not even on a bicycle; he's on foot.
Oh yeah, he runs a lot in that movie. According to one of the commentaries, he said when he first met Gene Wilder's first thing that he said to him was like, "If I see one more scene of you running," because they just showed him a bunch of like the early scenes they filmed. They're almost all of him running. But
wasn't the first thing they filmed him running home with the ticket?
Yeah,
I think I read that. Yeah,
got like the arches and all that stuff. Yeah. And he comes home to his home where he's living with his mother and his grandparents who have been bedridden for 20 years. And they're eating cabbage soup, but he surprises them with a loaf of bread and
cabbage water soup. It's not even cabbage soup.
What a feast.
So, and of course, he gives that, and he gives his grandpa Joe, who obviously has the run of things, extra money for tobacco. We obviously pick favorites in the Bucket household, and he is of course. I love the line. Is like, where a loaf of bread looks like a feast, I have no right to be smoking tobacco. Is like, I'm thinking to myself, damn straight. But what did y'all think of Charlie and this arrangement?
I want to say something. First thing he comes in, he kisses all the grandparents, both sets of grandparents, not just one set, which is even weirder. The names, George,
Oh, yeah.
Georgina, Joe, and Josephine, and they look more like siblings than married couples. It's like that's really
And
fucking weird.
You see that later too. I can't remember the couples, but there was at least one other couple where they named the man and the woman, and they had the same name, just different variations. I'm like, this is a weird world where everyone see, like, I guess a prerequisite to marriage is, oh, we don't have the same name. I'm sorry, I can't be with you.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I probably never picked that up as a kid at all. I'm sure. But I definitely, you know, first thing I was like, at first I saw, you know, all the parents on the bed. I was like, wow, that's so weird, you know. But then he kisses them, says their names, and it's like, what the hell? And I'm looking at their faces. I'm like, they look more like they're related than, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Is this like down south and not in Europe or the same? But yeah, they definitely look like they are more brother and sister than husband and wife. But you know, the grandparents, so they, you know, they have to be the husband and wife.
And the other grandparents didn't have much lines because they didn't speak English.
Well,
so
they were already. The other grandparents were like almost looked like they were halfway in the grave already.
Yeah,
to me.
But I just want to point out the one thing. The grandfather's like just written in bed, and he's like, "Oh, I would help if I could feel better." And the mother's like, "Well, you haven't even gotten out of bed." And he's like, "Oh, would if the floor wasn't so cold, you know?" And of course, after Charlie gets the ticket, suddenly he can get out of bed and he can move. And
yeah,
we'll get to that scene in a bit because that's what I want to discuss more in detail.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just curious though. They all four of them have been bedridden for 20 years. So
supposedly,
do they like have do they have like bedpans or something?
I figured that Grandpa Joe must be getting out of bed to go down the street to get his freaking tobacco because Charlie handed him the money.
Right.
I was saying he asked the mom. I would think he asked the mom. He asked the mom to do it for him.
Yeah.
I still like the concept of him actually sneaking out of the bed to get his own tobacco.
we all know Grandpa Joe is just a lazy bastard.
Yeah. Right?
Well, obviously.
Right? Right. I mean, I don't know.
But he's a likable lazy bastard.
He is.
Right.
He is a likable guy.
He's a child at heart.
But definitely it's like I think too, like the
he definitely has a love for Charlie.
Bastard, but she enables him.
And the actor was apparently very well liked by all the kids on set.
I love the way he was falling over and stuff. It reminds you a lot of Charlie Chaplin and stuff. So I mean, he definitely did a really great job of like dancing and falling over and making it look so effortlessly. Like
he was trained in old Hollywood. We talked about that with White Christmas a bit. And you know, an old Hollywood style actor. I mean, he started in vaudeville, so you know, that's. You had to know how to do everything.
Yeah.
But how about the rest of y'all? Any thoughts on Charlie or his family?
His family seems okay, but they're background characters and they're kind of treated as such, except for the grandpa who goes with him to the factory later.
It is.
There's nothing too exciting about any of them. I mean, I think somebody said that the rest of the grandparents seem like corpses, and that's pretty much correct.
Right.
So,
it is interesting that they eliminated the father in this version.
Yeah,
I mean, I know
he's because the father's alive in both the Tim Burton movie and
the book. Right. So that was kind of an interesting because I'd kind of forgotten that he wasn't in this one, and then I was like, well, that's kind of weird. But then I was reading about it, I was like, oh yeah, that is weird.
But they should have tossed George and Georgina a bone. Like, okay, Grandpa, this is for your tobacco. Uncle George, here's for your meth habit. Georgina, this is for your pot. we'll keep growing those seeds out back, something like that.
Well, one of them could have had a knitting habit or something.
Well, I didn't think they were knit. Some of them knitted. Well, they did knit like a scarf.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's true.
But no, it's all the mother and the two grandmothers, the one that knitted the scarf.
Well, the mother seemed like she was like a washwoman, like she did laundry for a living.
Yeah, she did.
She did. Yeah.
It's interesting if you're looking at Charlie, because this is one of his few roles, and he went on to be
his only role.
Only role.
Only role. Yep.
He went to
retired
be
to upstate New York to become a vet.
Mhm.
I mean, I'd like to just say the mom was pretty good in this role, and a lot of people just forget about her and her song that comes up pretty much right after this.
Yeah,
I mean, it's probably one of the most forgettable songs on the entire list, but it's actually an important song as far as what its meaning behind it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. My parents have two cats, and one of them's name is Charlie or Charles, and I sing just the main line of "Good Luck, Charlie" to him.
Oh yeah, actually I forgot. I think that on his way home he stopped by the Wonka factory as well, which was the gasworks in Munich, which something I thought was an interesting technical feat, which I'm sure I'll forget later, so I'll say it now, was that Wonka light up apparently was painting the cells. Was how they made that, like the lights on the smokestack, which is a pretty cool effect, to tell you the truth. And that really creepy scene with the dude with the knives and stuff. Guys.
I always felt like that lighting up of the Wonka lights was like almost like a moment where like Mr. Willy Wonka was actually saying hello to Charlie for the very first time.
Oh,
Painting on film cells is actually a pretty old and traditional technique. It is a pain in the ass, but it's actually how Star Wars got its lightsabers. So if you ever wondered how lightsabers originally came to be, because we didn't have CG that could do it that back then, it was all hand painted.
Well, that's the thing. That's an old style going all the way back to Méliès with some of his early films, like in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
I mean, you actually had Journey to the Moon was actually in color for pieces. It was in color because they painted the cells, which, my God. You talk about painstaking. But they had
actually,
color films even back then.
It kind of goes back even further to actually art. If I remember correctly, there's a painting called Le Grand Jeté that was painted all by dots. But in any case,
any other, and I forgot about that other, because after the scene where they introduced the grandparents, you cut to Charlie actually staying up late with the grandfather discussing what the old man was saying about Wonka's factory. But he does that old man with the cutlery, he's just like does this creepy poem. Almost reminds me of the Jabberwocky poem in a way. And he definitely, I think, Jacob was talking about how he was more of like the God, what was the name again? The Harbinger. Like in horror film. So
it's like Ralph in Friday the 13th.
It was a sure sign to show that most of them are going to die before the end.
Nobody goes in and nobody goes out.
Don't go up that woods.
Well, we have a lot of hardened people in here who, even at a young age, the most disturbing of films were not disturbing. So it's hard on that. But to those who did have the capability of being disturbed as a child, didn't that guy, to me, he was the creepiest part of the film. But what did y'all think of him?
Oh, the knife dude?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I knew that he was like kind of because he had a cart that he sold knives on.
I think he was
So
sharpening. He did sharpening and stuff.
I think he also sold the knives too, from what I understood. I seem to remember something like that in the book.
I personally didn't find him creepy at all. I don't know, just didn't even notice. You know, I mean, it seemed like he was trying to be like a little creepy, telling him no one goes in, no one comes out, you know, type thing. But I never found him all that creepy at all.
No,
I have literally no memory of this character at all, period whatsoever.
Oh, he was like, he can't. When Charlie first looked at the factory, this guy just come rattling up and just starts taking off this creepy poem, like he's just some side character from Alice in Wonderland.
Or I was gonna say a cross between one of the side character from Alice in Wonderland and Crazy Ralph from Friday the 13th.
Now, Kroll, I think you had said before that even in childhood there really wasn't any film that could scare or disturb you. Could you were you able to see in some of these cases where this might be disturbing or creepy?
Yeah, I definitely was watching for that, and yeah, I definitely noticed. You know, like I said, the tunnel scene, and this one I still didn't really see it, but I guess now you guys are talking about it, I kind of get it. But to me, the guy that worked for him, that was pretending to be the competition, trying to entice them for money. Yeah, he was creepy. You know, I wasn't scared, but I definitely felt he was creepy. Like, who's this guy? Like, suddenly showing up everywhere.
Well,
whispering to these kids, and you know, and then you know, stops Charlie as he's running. You know, like dead stop, and then he's just like.
Well, and you kind of have to remember that Grandpa Joe had actually set up some of that beforehand by telling Charlie about. Yeah, they talk about Slugworth and how he had to move his factory and shut it down because of him trying to like steal his products or whatnot at the time. And
yeah, he like you said, he wanted to shut the factory down, and that's what he did. They shut the factory down, but instead of going out of business, he shut it down himself, and then ended up going completely by himself and not letting anyone really involved in it, so no one could steal his secrets of the candies and stuff.
Anybody else about those scenes with the grandparents, Charlie, and of course the iconic poem scene?
I mean, I think you guys kind of labeled it right. It's the Harbinger of Doom that you would normally get in a horror film, but definitely the moment that in a children's horror film that sort of sets up a bit of creepiness and uneasiness before you get to the mystery.
No, I could have almost seen this as a Goosebumps episode. But going onwards, of course, we're introduced to the teacher. Gosh, I can't remember the actor's name, but I used to see him a lot more and stuff. And I always liked him as an actor because I always thought he was funny.
He was actually part, I think, of the Carry On troupe, which was a comedy routine of films that in the early stages of the 60s and 70s. So
David
I also remember him from Kroll. He was the wizard in Kroll, which was also fun. But he was a fun teacher with this. I like his later scene on Percentages better, but when they're like talking about stuff and then they're doing a chemical mixture for wart removing, but all these kids are just running around in the halls and like, what's going on? Is like Willy Wonka's going to open a door. Is like, class dismissed. It's like, but only to like 7 people. Oh, class undismissed. And then he goes back and says, well, if he it's like, well, it's about getting these golden tickets. If you buy the Wonka bars and you get the tickets, you can go, class redismissed. And it starts the montage of different like Wonka bar scenes.
And it's 5, not 7.
Well, I love the teacher's like one of those first lines after he calls Charlie up there, and then he's like, "Do you know blah blah?" And Charlie's like, "No, I don't." He's like, "Well, of course you don't know, because I know, because I'm the teacher, and you're the student. And if you knew, you'd teach me." And it's rude and for a student to teach a teacher. Just
Meanwhile, he is demonstrating for all the class what rudeness is.
Yes.
Right.
Now, the one thing about the classroom scenes, just a random trivia that I found really interesting, is apparently one of the people who was responsible for this film's existence had a cameo in that scene. It's the little girl who I think when he asks the percentages, I think she answers she had 100 candy bars or something. She was Mel Stewart's daughter, I think it was.
Yeah, it was the one with the pigtails.
Yeah, and apparently he said that that she had given him the idea for doing this movie in the first place. And so that's kind of fun.
Yeah, because she had brought the suggestion with the book, so this is a really good book, and then brought it to him. But a lot of the kids in that classroom were children of the people working on the film, and then of course German extras. I do love like 2. I can't do 2.
Yeah. You have to wonder.
Yeah, that scene. I was like, wow, what a wonderful teacher! He can't figure out 2%.
Not to mention that he's shaming like class shaming this kid for being so poor, but he's also like, and I'm also a horrible teacher.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely both he shaming and showing that he was not the brightest.
So I was a little disappointed though, because he's apparently credited as Mr. Turkentine, but I swear I heard it as Turpentine, and I just think that would have been such a better name for him.
So
either way, he's a good character actor. I mean,
which one was that? There was one that was so the teaching scenes. I'm going to split these up into like scenes because they'll kind of mix together. But the 2 classroom scenes. Does anybody else have anything else on them before we launch into the montage? Montage.
Oh yeah, the montage.
I thought that the teaching scenes were funny, especially when you get to the percentage one. And he's like, 2, like you said, 2. I can't do 2. It's. I just thought he was real fun, and when they're doing the mixing, and he goes, "Well, you just put the, if you put this and this, and if you have these separately, they're explosive chemicals. But if you mix them right," and he's just like, "Okay, pour," and the thing goes poof,
Well, another fun little, it may have been like an in joke for the movie, or it may have been happy accident. I don't know. But I read that apparently Veruca like means wart or something like that. And so he's making wart remover. And so I think that's kind of a fun little thing.
That is kind of fun.
Verucas are warts.
She definitely need to be removed.
So
kind of funny. I actually know somebody who the explosive mixing thing happened to in real life. It was my friend's brother, and he was talking to his professor in the chemistry lab, and they were looking at the stuff that's just kind of not kept under lock and key, that's just kind of left out. And my friend's brother suddenly noticed, it's like, wait a minute, we have all the stuff here to make dynamite. And the professor was like, oh, no, we don't. And the professor kind of gets quiet and looks over the table for a second. And it's like, we should put some of these away.
There
Very good.
was a large block of sodium that they had kept in our high school under lock and key, and some students did some damage to the school once when they got a bucket of water and they jumped the giant rock of sodium into the water, which anybody who knows what happens with pure sodium when it hits water knows that a very large rock of it would cause some significant damage.
Yeah.
That's a fun little science thing for you.
Also, don't like potassium.
Yeah.
Right.
So with that, I'm going to split these up into little vignettes because they mix and match a lot of these because there's 3 sets of stuff going on. There's the introduction to the other children. There's the little Wonka bar vignette things that they do throughout of the people, various ones talking about trying to hunt them down, and then you've got the scenes with Charlie and the grandparents. So I was wanting
do have to mention the whole kidnapping thing during the whole vignette.
Well, actually, I think we'll start with those, and why don't we get those out of the way first, which is the Wonka bar vignettes not involving the kids. And go ahead.
Well, there's this one where a lady's husband is being held for ransom, and the cop is on the phone, and he's like, "Okay, let's figure this out," and he's like, "Okay, he wants your case of Wonka bars," and she's like, "Do you think you can give me a couple of moments to think about this?"
How long do I have to think about this?
Because she's weighing the pros and cons of whether her husband is that important.
Like, I'll give anything. He wants to case of Wonka bars.
It speaks volumes about consumerism and the lengths people will and how shallow people can be.
Well, aren't they trying to sell that case for like £1 million or something?
Oh,
it was an auction, yeah.
I mean, I like the one where they're showing the therapist in the beginning. He's talking about like the angel had come and told him where the golden ticket is, and the therapist is like, "No, tell me where it is."
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I mean, the therapist is all like, "Oh, dreams don't matter, and you're like kind of crazy if to think that they're serious." And then as soon as he tells him about the angel, tell him where the golden ticket is. Well, tell me. Well, what does that matter? Just tell me where the golden ticket is.
Now, that does raise a question that I don't think is ever answered in the film. You guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong about this. But with the way everyone's behaving, it sounds like anyone could win. But then once they get there, it seems pretty clear that it was intended to go to children.
I picked that up myself.
My thought is that they were planted, and which is how the Slugworth just automatically shows up, even with the Veronica Salt. I mean,
that does make sense.
Absolutely, yeah.
TV reporters and stuff.
Right, it definitely makes sense that might be the explanation for it. And also, as I said before, and I'll say probably again, this version of Willy Wonka really clearly really loves trolling people. I'll bet he may have been just trolling all the adults by making them think they could win.
So, what was I? Oh, yes. So, anything else on the little vignettes?
The only one I would want to mention, I don't want to mention until after we get into it. It's because it's the dictator.
Kroll, you were saying something as well. Well, at least I think you were.
I think he just came in.
Oh, well, any case, we'll move on from the vignettes to the introduction to the kids, other than Charlie's win, and we'll go over the song and all that after we talk about the introductions. And the first one to hit is, of course, Augustus Gloop, which apparently really does not like bratwurst, but he had to keep eating the stuff over and over again.
Right.
And it's at a restaurant apparently that they all frequented in Munich.
I love how his father just eats the microphone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. I always thought that was funny. They utilize the inanimate objects to
Tammy wanted the sausages.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm sure that he would have given them to
I will admit one item that is kind of on my bucket list would be to go to a pub in Munich and have knockwurst and beer.
Oh, whenever I was in Munich, it was Wiener Schnitzel.
Okay.
All the way. Wiener Schnitzel was the thing to eat.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's Wiener Schnitzel, and there was and matzo ball soup. But every place, matzo ball soup was the thing to eat. So that was there. But he comes across as sort of a slightly greedy child when it comes to food.
Slightly,
but you can see where he learns it from. To be sure.
Veruca, darling.
Yeah.
I mean, his father eating the microphone alone is a good indication of that. But what did y'all think of Augustus as far as his introduction as a child there?
Yeah, I just thought he was just the stereotypical fat kid that can't even stop eating long enough to have the interview or anything.
It wasn't as gross as I remembered, honestly.
And it's funny because he barely spoke a word of English, according to what was told during the time.
I guess that's why he was stuffing his face.
I did like they say he's like, I really feel sorry for Wonka because he's going to have to give up a lot of chocolate.
Yeah.
So, and then of course the second to hit, I believe, was Veronica Salt.
Yes.
Which had her father, who owned the giant peanut showing business.
It was actually Veruca.
And this is the kid that you do not ever want to have as your daughter, ever.
No, this is
well, I mean, they're all horrible. I mean, really,
but I think she's the worst.
She is one of the worst.
She's
yes.
definitely the worst. Say
I saw something that statted it out in a way that I had kind of I saw this myself, but I was reading this. I was like, oh, that's the perfect way to word it. The 4 kids really are 4 of the deadly sins. Augustus, of course, is gluttony, and Veruca is greed through and through. She is
gluttony, greed, pride, and sloth, I think.
Yeah. That's the and a couple other characters could be thought to be some of the others. I don't think lust is represented in this, but you could argue that the others are represented as well.
You kind of can't do that with.
Yeah, well, you could.
I don't think so.
I guess you could argue Slugworth might have been a stand-in for Envy, maybe. I don't know, or at least the thought of Slugworth. But I don't know.
You could have done it, but it would be. But you would really need to play more into the teenage aspect than you are.
It's stretching a little bit.
Veruca is a entitled, spoiled, little, whiny bitch. I do not like that character at all.
But I have to give credit to that actress because she's so good at being raw.
Oh yeah, she did.
I think she's the only one who's still. I think she's the only one who's still acting after this movie came out.
It's like I said. It's like I said as well. Like an idea for a horror movie there would be if her parents were stuck at home with her because of quarantine.
If there was any character to hate, it would be Veruca. I'm sorry.
I mean, you can imagine her as a vicious boss taking over for her father's company.
Oh,
Like he's like,
jeez.
make them more nights.
I really couldn't stand her either. And then, you see all these people opening all these candy bars and opening and opening. All that stuff is going to waste.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Because she is so spoiled and she has to get the ticket.
So
This
much
stuff is all going
chocolate.
to waste. And
Also,
she doesn't
Come on,
care.
come on, Daddy, make them work through the night.
yeah, and actually, well, also the fact that Mr. Salt only, he's like, what was it, like a 1 pound rate, a 1 pound bonus,
Yeah.
to whoever finds the golden ticket. It's like, that's it, a pound.
Well, in fairness, he probably lost billions of pounds on all that chocolate.
And honestly,
And the fact that
a
all his
pound
workers
went
are
a
doing
long,
that.
and honestly, a pound went a long way back then. So,
Well,
But,
I saw something that said it was something like an equivalent of like $3 or something. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, and they weren't selling peanuts, so they were not making money for him. But yeah, I love her, the way that she could change her expressions, the way that her voice went. She really did, as a young actress, do a great job with the character.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say,
Right.
that make them work nights line, the way she delivered it. I mean, she went from that whiny to sweet to just dark, and then like make them work nights, like that almost monstrous quality.
I don't recall her ever having a sweet moment throughout this whole movie. But
Well, I mean, like in a kind of daddy sort of thing, not a
okay.
more of like
Weirdly,
a-
maybe.
Daddy,
Like
I
a-
want a golden goose.
like an Angelica from Rugrats type character.
Yeah.
So any oh, go ahead, Jacob.
Well, I was going to say real quick before I forget about it, I'm going to go back to that previous vignettes again, because one of my favorite parts we accidentally skipped, which is the part where they had the computer that was going to figure out where the
Yes.
tickets were, and the computer just spits out this message. That would be cheating.
I'll
And
tell
I
the
like-
computer exactly what it can do with the lifetime supply of chocolate. Which
And
I didn't
the
get as a
fact
kid,
that
but I got as an adult.
the fact that computer was that entire room kind of reminded me of the whole. Remember when they were looking through in Black Christmas the telephone lines and that?
Yeah.
Oh God.
So
It just reminded me of like how big the computers used to be.
Yeah.
of course,
how long way we've come from how far we've come.
now of course the first one, it was broadcast on the TV when Slugworth was there delivering the sausages and so on. So one could say, oh well, he found that out and he was right there. The second one with Veruca was a bit harder because he was somehow there as soon as they opened it. And the one could surmise, well, they're using the peanut thing, she's the most likely to hit next. But it was a little bit less plausible, but more plausible for the thought that he was there planting the tickets, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But then our third person, gosh, what was okay? I don't know why.
Straight off the Dark Shadows television show too.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about one there. She also was in, I think, the Electric Company after that, which, so she was doing acting after this as well. What was the character's name? I cannot remember her.
Violet.
Name. Violet.
Violet Beauregard.
Yes. And she was being interviewed, and of course, she loves gum, and she'd been chewing the same piece of gum for an absurd amount of time.
7 years or something like that.
Which that would have been awful.
3 months, I think she said that one was.
That gum would have long lost its flavor.
Its flavor.
And the actress herself even said, like after she had been done with the movie, because they didn't have the sugar-free gum apparently back then. That's what she said. You know, she had to have a lot of dental work done because that was probably she said she probably took the most dental damage of all the ones.
Jeez.
But what do y'all think of her?
She was entertaining when she became entertaining. I mean, I specifically remember when she ended up having that piece of gum, but I'm sure we'll talk about that later.
I think I was actually most annoyed by her because she just came off as dumb, frankly. Like, I mean, I got the other kids were terrible people too, but at least I kind of got their deals and why they were like that.
Well, she is
But
from
her thing was
Montana.
just,
Hi, Cornelia. How are you, sweetheart?
I liked her too. I mean, she was annoying with the gum, but I really liked how she told Veruca off
Yes.
a couple times.
She was also pretty darn bratty. I mean, she definitely embodied the pride idea. She was very bratty, but you kind of get it. Her father was the same way, and I could see she was probably fighting for attention from an early age. So I understand it, but
her and Veruca definitely sparred a lot. So, okay, who got the little joke that they put in? With that they funneled throughout the candy tour between Veruca and Violet, where so she first says, "Shut up, you nit," and then she says, and then she calls her "you twit" the next time, and then of course Grandpa Joe later comes in and says for Veruca she was a nitwit. They use that little word play for those people paying attention.
I did not catch that.
Cool.
So yeah, nitwit. So yeah. But very, very clever wordplay and writing in this was very clever.
I definitely think so.
That's good.
Anything else for Violet? Brittany, Tammy, any of y'all?
Well, I mean, I'm going to bring up her father because, I mean, her father was the car salesman who kept trying to pitch his own car dealership through every time he was put on camera.
Right. It's like, and even hands Wonka his business card, and you could see the disgust in Gene Wilder's face.
Well, and he's the first one to say something against that whole thing that they had to sign when they first came. The contract that got like really, really small in print.
Well, he's ripped some people off with contracts, so he probably knows.
Yeah.
Yep.
He might have even used that same trick of the font getting smaller.
I thought Violet was kind of annoying, her constantly smacking that gum, and think, she thinks she's all that because she's been chewing it all this time and she's going to break all these records and she's, she kind of had that, everything's about her attitude, so...
Of course, we have one more with our kids, and that's Mike TV, which again they're interviewing in the home, and Mike's like busy watching his westerns, as were many kids in the early 70s, late 60s.
Yep, he was watching that Black Bart, right?
And our youngest child actor, though also one that had been in the field longer than any of the others, because he had apparently been doing things since he was 6, singing and dancing and performing.
Apparently, he was Wilder's least favorite child actor to work with, and
they were all saying he was acting like a brat throughout the whole thing.
And decades later, him and Wilder met at a convention. And they had to laugh about like Wilder calling him a brat at the time, and Wilder's gave him an autographed Willy Wonka poster, calling him a brat.
Yeah.
Very good.
And apparently the other child actors didn't care for him much either at the time. And that's one of the funny. If you guys get the chance and you have the commentary that they have, the Wonka kids, basically all of them together, they did the commentary for it. It is hilarious watching them interact with each other on that. Of course, Augustus does not interact much in it, but he does give a couple pointers there.
Good times. I wanted to see that. I just didn't really have the time to do the commentaries this time, but one day.
It was the luck of me getting the movie watched so early.
Yeah.
But
I
any
watched it
other...
on HBO Max, so no, just the regular version for me. But yeah, it definitely sounds cool version to watch.
Yeah, I had Netflix on my end.
I didn't see it on Netflix.
I will say TV's introduction does give me one of my favorite lines in the movie, which is, he said that he's got the cowboy hat, he's got the little fake gun, and he is like in the zone, like he is watching the TV, and and he's really annoyed at all these reporters shoving microphones in his face. He's like, why don't you wait for the break? But then I think one of them comments about his cowboy look or something, and he's like, wait till I get a real one, a Colt 45, but Pop won't let me get one yet. And then his dad's just sitting there, not till you're 12, son.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yep, this is America.
Yeah,
I was like,
didn't notice that before, and I was like, what?
I mean, that's how it was in my dad's, because my dad's family, all the guys, like everybody in my dad's family, everyone has guns, and that's pretty much, that was the tradition, was not until you were 12.
And what's funny is that simple line apparently took a lot of takes. It took a ton of takes to do.
I saw that, yeah.
Which is funny. It's just funny that little line took so many takes, but they kept having difficulty with the sound and getting it picked up right. But you knew that the know-it-all mother pretty much was going to be the one to take him at that point, not the father.
Right.
So that would have been a very different version if the other parents had taken.
Oh, it's interesting that he was the of all the kids, he was the couch potato while his mom was the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd think she'd probably be like disciplining him more.
Right.
Right.
Now, so we've gotten all the kids introduced. Anything else on the kids before we head back to Charlie?
Not that I know of, but I have something in relation to Charlie. I just think he has like a totally honest face, to me.
Oh, yeah.
He is.
That was the idea.
He doesn't have a lick of like greed or anything,
Nope.
They were making fun in the commentary. The girls like, yes, we each wanted to share him because we were both sweet on him, so we would share him on different dates.
This is where we get the dictator come into play. That brings out the fake ticket. The South American dictator,
professional gambler.
Right.
Yeah, but the guy in South America.
But before that whole thing, we see basically Charlie having the scene with his mother at the washing thing, and then you get the actual song, "Cheer Up Charlie," which is I believe our second song, because it's the next one after Candyman.
Yeah, it's the second song.
That was a follow-up to him getting a Wonka candy as a gift and not winning, right?
Yeah. I think so.
One thing I do have a minor gripe with is the way that his grandfather in particular really leans into it as if the only positive outcome would be for Charlie to win. Like, he he whether he means to or not, he puts a lot of pressure on Charlie to get that ticket. And I kind of feel like he's kind of setting him up for disappointment. And it's, of course, it goes their way in the end. But I'm sitting there thinking, like,
I
That's why
feel like
the
he
mother
wanted-
said, you shouldn't fill him with hope like that,
Yeah,
I feel like he means well, though.
Oh, yeah.
he
I don't
means
think
well. He means well.
And
Yeah.
It didn't feel unrealistic at all.
He
to
doesn't
me.
want him to feel as as poor as the rest of them, and he makes a comment that he's always working, and he doesn't want that for Charlie because he's still a boy, and he wants him to have dreams.
He doesn't get to play
and something to do as a boy.
Now, the first Wonka thing is not even a Wonka bar; it's a freaking moon pie. Because when I was a kid, I was like, "Well, of course he's not getting a golden ticket. They only said Wonka bars." That's
yeah,
not
I was
Wonka
thinking,
bar.
I was like, that isn't a Wonka bar. Why,
Well, they showed that throughout. Like everyone is looking at different pieces. Like all the candies that Mr. Salt was having shelled open were all different shapes and sizes. And you got. It is interesting that if they were all in the bars, why there was a run on the whole brand. But
we did forget about the bidding moment in the montage.
We mentioned
it.
Okay.
When we're talking about how much the thing went for, yeah.
I love how the queen.
The first thing we mentioned.
How the queen
Majesty
bid on it.
But we have, of course, not only the song and the birthday, but we also have a second time where they're going through with it, and Grandpa Joe surprises them with another bar that he apparently has been sitting on. I imagine that bar that must be made with some chemicals because that thing would have been melted all to hell. Nasty. It's like, imagine. Huh?
I can say the because I watched a Pawn Stars episode where they had the Wonka products or the actual props on sale from Veruca Salt actually, and the Wonka bar was actually a wooden block.
And apparently Violet had the actress Violet also run off with a bunch of props from the set when they were told not to.
Amazing.
Right. Well, apparently they didn't end up saving all that many. So from what I saw, the ones that were taken
did a good thing by preserve some film history. I mean, what movie won actually managed to get one of the golden tickets, and he got it signed, and he got one that was signed by the entire cast. Which, if you watch our 200th pickup episode, you can see that because he showed it off.
What's something like that worth? Like $4,000? Jeez.
Well, he said it's his most prized because I was asking people for one of their most prized pickups, and that was his. So I imagine it probably would be. Yeah.
I can tell you that Gobstopper goes for $10,000.
Okay, so I was way off. And it's probably far more valuable. Holy crap.
So with that, also we've got our, what was it? But he makes the lines like, I think that and of course there was actual chocolate in that particular bar when they open it. But he's like, I think that the tickets must make the chocolate taste terrible.
Yeah, that's where he's trying to make his grandpa feel better about them not getting the ticket,
But they do the thing with the guy who supposedly won the last one, the gambler. And Brittany, you said you had commentary about that.
About the game. Well, I mean, I just wanted to note. I mean, it's the sort of interesting moment where you have the newscast sort of. It's the only one we don't see, and it's one of those moments of, oh, well, everybody's disheartening, even though no one sees this guy actually have the ticket.
Well, I mean, so far it's been pretty honest up to that point. Though it's odd that they've all been kids, but again, that goes along with the theory that they've been planted intentionally. And of course, where everybody else is distracted, we have the teaching scene, which we talked about with the percentages. And then Charlie goes back in and notices a German mark, essentially, in the drain, which he picks up and does something selfish for once and goes to buy candy for himself, which is which, you know, it's a kid thing, but it's kind of, to me, I felt like, oh, this is very different from his character. I'm surprised he didn't go try and buy bread or something for the family. But he gets the Scrumdiddlyumptious bar, and it also, that scene is like, oh, it's the poor kid. Okay, with the poor kid, you're gonna be like, money.
He also and then he buys the chocolate bar, and he says for his grandpa. But then when he hears that they didn't, the guy who won the last golden ticket was a fraud, he immediately opens it up, even though it's supposed to be for his grandpa.
Well, you know, I mean, he wanted to see if there was a golden ticket on it, and of course there was. But a cute note, apparently they had said that the Scrumdiddlyumptious bar, they had apparently brought some mounds, fun size, basically, like small size mounds in from the United States at the time, and they were stale. So he was eating it that fast because he was trying to get them down.
You know, I was wondering about that, though. That I'd read about that they were importing candy from the U.S. rather than eating the local candies. And I'm sitting there going, wouldn't it be cheaper just to buy the local ones?
It probably tastes a lot better, too.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense why they would do that.
But yeah, he finds the golden ticket, and who did when he got his arm grabbed? When they first saw that, I know I did as a kid. I was thinking he's gonna get that ticket stolen from him.
Oh yeah, I was totally thinking that. Like,
yeah,
I thought somebody was gonna grab it out of his hand too.
Yeah, but thankfully his boss actually was looking out for him, which I like the relationship that he had with his boss.
That's who it was. I didn't realize who it was. I just knew that somebody had grabbed him and said.
Even there, like even though his boss helped him out, there was still a solid minute or something there where anyone could have taken it and run off. And it was it is interesting in this how people were like at each other's throats to get the tickets, but as soon as the ticket was uncovered, it seemed like everyone's like, oh, okay, well, they won. You know, it's like they immediately lost that competitiveness as soon as the ticket was uncovered.
Yeah, I noticed that myself, that they seemed to be doing anything to get their hands on tickets for once, you know, it was found. They were like, oh, you know, they didn't try to steal it or anything, you know, which was surprising. I mean, if they did a more modernized version now, I mean, I definitely think they would add that in there.
And he's taking the back alleys back too, which is where he runs into Slugworth. Which also, this is the one where I would say most represents the theory that the Slugworth was planting the tickets for Wonka for the specific kids, because you could almost make the argument that the shelling business, he could have made a good guess that the ticket would pop up. But there's no way he could have figured out that quickly if he didn't know already that kid was going to find the ticket. And he had a specific bribe that would go directly to his family, and he knew about his family like right off the bat.
Yeah, he knew that they were all poor. He was like, oh, you can buy them a new house and they can live off it, and so.
Oh, I mean, I absolutely buy into it that it was a whole setup from the get-go.
Now, who else thinks that Judge Doom was inspired by this darn Slugworth?
I was absolutely thinking that as we were on mute.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it.
I don't know. He always kind of reminded me of David Letterman for some reason.
I can see that.
I love the
Okay.
glasses though.
I just kind of thought he was like this creepy guy.
Mhm.
Now, I have to admit, I can't remember who brought up Slugworth when we were covering Roger Rabbit, but it did not occur to me right away who they were talking about. And so we did that, a month and a half ago. So I watched
Yeah.
this. I was like, oh, Slugworth. What movie were they? And it was like by the end of the movie, I was like, oh, yeah, Roger Rabbit. But it took me a minute to do that.
Well, and I always thought that Slugworth was like the more creepy of the characters.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he was way more creepier than the Doom Prophet guy, with the knives.
So
I
anything
thought
else?
he was creepy. I thought he was very creepy too. It'd be like, you know, if I was a kid, I'd be like, get away from me.
Especially with him popping out of an alley like that.
Well, he had that nice little scar on his face too. Makes you
Yep.
think maybe he had a run-in with the Tinker.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Now
yeah, that scar is what made him, I think, look just so creepy.
Of course, he was offering 10,000 somethings for
10,000 marks.
Well, he just said 10,000 of these. They could have been anything. They could have been 5% off coupons for the Dairy Queen.
Well, he said he
but-
could buy a house, so yeah, I doubt there were coupons.
And your family would be set for the rest of their lives. So think
And
about
live
it.
comfortably.
Yeah, they'd have blizzards free for the rest of their lives.
I'd love that.
He's wanting this for like a sample of the everlasting gobstopper,
Yeah.
which he's trying to steal the formula of, which you realize, okay, this is the kind of stuff he's pitching to the other kids.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's what he's whispering in the ears.
So anything else on all of that? We did the whirlwind, but all of this kind of is weaved together. All of these things, the introduction of the kids, the montage with the Wonkas and the Charlie bits are all kind of like weaved in together. But I felt like it was good to isolate those three because they kind of are their own things. But did y'all have anything else on any of those before we move on?
Well, of course, when Charlie wins, we already kind of briefly touched on it earlier, but yeah, I always find it amusing how easily Grandpa Joe learns to walk again.
Oh, well, we're getting to that soon. I do find it sad that Charlie just chucks the chocolate.
I know.
I'm sorry. If I
There's
was
so
that
much
poor,
wasted chocolate in this film.
Right? I mean,
So much.
if I was that poor, it wouldn't matter if I had the golden ticket. That chocolate I would have been holding on to that chocolate, I'd wrap the chocolate back up.
Right.
Actually, I'd have had the ticket in my pocket, but my hand around that darn ticket because I would not let it go. And then I debate selling that one on the auction block because I bet you I could get even more from that.
I do want to say that this is the first time we hear "I Want a Golden Ticket," at least the orchestral.
Oh yeah,
in this moment,
little piccolo or something.
Yeah.
So we get home, and of course they're like, "Oh no, somebody else already won." It's like, "No, that was a fake." And then they're like, oh, "But who can go because Mother is busy at the laundry?" And so Grandpa Joe gets out of bed for the first time in 20 years, which I call bull on, and goes from, as Jacob said, from bedridden for 20 years to eventually getting up, singing and dancing. I've got a golden ticket, which is the next one there, which is a
and they
really
looked
cool
at him.
music number.
They looked at him in disbelief when he brought in the ticket, though, at first, because they were still going off on that information from the telly. So
yeah, he just said that it was a fake.
Oh, the poor kid gone mad from despair.
Built up all that.
That grandpa
Oh.
was definitely what the hell, he can't get out of bed for anything but go a free trip to the candy shop. Now he can suddenly candy factory. I mean, he can suddenly get up and walk around and dance and.
It was really a Lazarus scene, though. I almost feel like Lazarus is now risen.
What's funny about the song is that apparently they told Charlie that you can't really sing, so we're going to just do a voiceover for your singing parts, and they didn't do it.
I always got disturbed because it kind of the song always made me feel that Grandpa Joe is more taking credit for the ticket than Charlie.
I was thinking that.
Yeah.
The fact that he sings "I've got a golden ticket" instead of it being Charlie always kind of felt weird.
Well, if you notice that Grandpa Joe is the one who tends to get Charlie into the most trouble, he's the one who was responsible for the later incident. Really, he kind of encourages Charlie to be more reckless and less responsible. Which I guess might be right because he's pretty much been scamming the family for years.
and that's probably part of the reason why it bugged me that he was pushing so hard the idea that if you get the ticket, it will be great and it'll be wonderful and all that stuff is like, yeah, he really does almost come off as a bad influence. I mean, that's kind of almost
a bad influence with the right intentions, though.
Now, as a kid, I didn't think as cynically though as I do as an adult now, as far as the dancing and getting out of the bed. I don't know about the rest of y'all. Some of y'all might have been that cynical, but I didn't really think about it until later on.
Well, again, I didn't see it as a kid, so yeah.
My sister said it always bugged her. Because I was talking to her about the movie that I was watching it, and so she was like, "Yeah, she's like, one thing about that movie that always bugged me was the grandpa, suddenly getting out of bed and singing and dancing." So she had that same opinion that it bugged her.
I remember when he got out of bed, Leo, and when I watched it with my dad, and I looked at my dad like, "How is that possible?" Because
he's been thinking of 20 years.
He would have atrophied well beyond, in the first year.
Oh yeah.
That's because he's been buying his own pipe tobacco, and he's the one who snuck out and bought that Wonka bar. Because you think about it, if you really think about it, it makes sense because the mother didn't seem to know about the Wonka bar. So my guess is that he actually had already gotten up, and he's been walking out in the past. He walked out and he got that Wonka bar himself. And he's just hiding this from the mother, which you talk about cruelty. But, I do like to prefer to look at this as a more innocent way that I did as a child. Though as an adult, yes, I can see this as very cynical way. Because I loved Grandpa Joe as a kid.
Yeah, he's a likable character. I mean, you definitely see some shady stuff from him, but he's still just one of those likable people that, they're shady, but you still like them.
I'm sure. He's the likable rapscallion.
Yeah, exactly. But most people know somebody in real life like that, I know I do. And if you don't, then maybe it's you.
Oh, he reminded me of my alcoholic uncle during the period where he was sober, which he was much more of a rapscallion drunk, but we don't tend to talk about that part. But anybody else have any commentary on the golden ticket? I mean, it's
we should also mention Grandpa does rock that Wilford Brimley mustache pretty well.
Oh yeah. He could have used this as mustache matinee right there.
Exactly.
So we fast forward to, of course, the day that the band and all that is playing, and the day of the place opening, and all the kids are together. Apparently, that was a real mink coat that Veruca had that she left in the commissary and lost it, which is a sad thing for many, I'm sure. And of course, she's got to be first. But
Yeah.
and you get to see kind of the kids interact a little bit with each other, but they're still more interacting with the reporters and all that, and less with each other and more like in their personal, craziness. But then you get to finally see Gene Wilder exit for the first time, coming out like a cripple.
Yeah.
And doing that somersault, which was apparently Gene
Right.
Wilder's idea, and they kept it from the
Right.
kids to.
Did he do that himself?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was wondering that. Yeah.
They had like a special styrofoam brick that he put the cane in to make it stand. But apparently, this is one of many scenes where they didn't tell the kids what was going on in order to try and get the genuine expressions.
Good idea.
Right. I like the idea that what I read on that was that when Wilder proposed the idea and the directors asked him why, he's like, well, from that time, when he pretends to limp and then he somersaults forward and stands up straight, he's like, well, from that time on, no one will know if I'm lying or telling the truth. And I think that's fairly appropriate for that character.
Yeah, it is good, and it kind of reminds you of. To me, it reminded me of Grandpa. Yeah, Grandpa can't get out of bed, and then all of a sudden he's singing and dancing. Gene Wilder's all like crippled, like then all of a sudden he somersaults. So to me, it made the similarities between the two characters.
And they have their cursory greetings, and then they head off into the factory. But any other thoughts on the first appearance with Gene Wilder's character?
I specifically always remember Mike TV pulling out his gun and saying "bang" during the introductions. Other than that,
I will say the look of Gene Wilder in this is so iconic.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's gone on to be on the Wonka brand that they decorate him in the same outfit. Instead of going even after they had the remake, they still kept the same outfit.
Well, they had those giant goggles.
Right. Honestly, I think the look that they had in the remake, there's a video. I want to say, I'm almost certain that it was Mary Jane's Last Dance, or it might have been Into the Great Wide. It was one of the Tom Petty ones where I swear they copied his look from that video for the Tim Burton remake, but probably with some influence from this a little bit too. Yes, Into the Great Wide Open. That was what it was. But one thing I like about this scene with Gene Wilder is the way he greets everyone. You can almost see, like just under the surface, you can see his disgust at most of these characters. But the way he handles them, I'm sitting there thinking, wow, he'd be a good politician.
Gene Wilder was excellent in this role. I mean, even if you prefer the Johnny Depp movie over this, which some do, I do think that I still can prefer Gene Wilder as Wonka because of the slyness under the surface.
Agreed.
I feel like that was. I feel
Agreed.
like. I feel like the Johnny Depp version was the more overt. It was the more. It was the more obvious version. Whereas
Yeah,
Jerry Remake was much
I
more
agree.
subtle and biting.
Well, I mean, Wilder also had, I mean, not only the slyness, but he also had sort of that childlike wonder in his face and his look.
Oh, he
that
does.
Still really makes such an iconic role for him that I didn't feel from Johnny Depp when he did it.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Johnny
Yeah.
Depp too. But yeah, definitely prefer this version over the remake. Gene Wilder just did such an awesome job.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he kicks miles of ass in this movie. So
But again, I don't know how much of that is actually nostalgia coming out. How about you, Jacob? I know that you had seen this one more as an adult. I mean, do you feel like the Depp one would be the? I mean, in comparison to the two.
Well, are you talking about like in terms of the performance of Wonka or overall?
Just the overall characterization.
It's honestly been a few years since I've seen the Tim Burton version, and I do think Depp played the character a little creepier. He does like his weirdness. He does like his kookiness, which Wilder did too. But they have different brands of kookiness, if that makes sense. Like
Definitely.
there's
I
definitely
agree.
a different brand of kookiness. And yes, Wilder's was a little bit more, I
Palatable.
guess you could say, family friendly. They're a little bit more of an innocence to it. I mean, whereas Depp's is a little bit more almost menacing.
emo.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, a little more
Absolutely,
emo,
Michael
I
Jackson.
guess you could say. Well, there was a strong Michael Jackson vibe to that performance. Yes, there
Well,
was.
even Critics pointed that out when at the time when it first came out.
Right. Yeah.
Well, he did have that pigmentation of skin.
I think that version has a lot going for it. And visually, it's a stunning looking film. But yeah, in terms of the portrayal of Wonka, the old one might be the better.
And to me, it's all about the wordplay. And again, that's not just Wilder's performance, but the
Oompa Loompas as well.
Well, you know, the general like writing of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So they get in. Of course, they have the contract scene, which we've touched on a little bit. With the creepy coat hangers and all of that, which I think to myself, yeah, I mean that contract would probably not. I don't know about German laws or UK laws, but I know that children signing a contract really isn't all that binding, and they didn't have the parents. They had places for the parents to sign, but only the children signed it.
Yeah.
So, you know, that I don't know about y'all, but that wouldn't hold up very well in court.
Well, I think the whole idea of the contract and everything was just he was trying to weed out the people to find the right person to give the company to. And I think, like you said, he knew it was going to be Charlie. Like all along, he kind of had a feeling that Charlie was going to be the one to win. Like you said, that he was actually the best of the kids, but he had to test them all. So I don't think it was a matter of like, taking them into court or from being sued, and it was just more of a testing of the kids because he wanted to find a successor.
And to me, this is really where the movie starts picking up steam, because all the setup is done, and you've already got your roller coaster. You're already in their car, and you've got this. Well, you don't have the safety belts, unfortunately, but you're ready for the ride anyhow.
Yeah, because the next scene we had the tasteable wallpaper, isn't it?
No, that's way
Okay,
later.
okay, okay.
The next scene was basically the weird room where everybody was stuffed in together.
Yeah, that was great.
He goes in, goes back out the same door, which leads to a different room, which has like the built on the ramp, so that forced perspective change.
Mhm.
I love how they say, "I'm getting out of here." He's like, "Oh no, you can't go. You can't go back. You can only go forward to go back."
Right.
And you kind of get the that idea of like Mike TV's mother's just like her
Claustrophobic.
know-it-allness, because she's like Rachmaninoff. It's like, which is not Rachmaninoff for the music.
No, it's not.
But the scene that's after is the one that most people will probably want to dwell on, which of course the kids also, when you open up, you get to see their first reaction to the room as well, because they weren't allowed, and I think most of the adults as well, were not allowed to see the room on purpose until it was revealed.
Right.
You got to see the candy room. So, and of course, Gene Wilder's song, "If You Want to View Paradise," that thing, like that song is also one of the most iconic songs on this. Actually, they're all iconic songs. But
Well, yeah.
what are y'all's thoughts? on
Pure
this
imagination.
scene? Pure imagination. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the scene was really good because
Yeah.
as he's singing the song, everybody's trying to go forward, and he keeps taking that can, and as he's going down the stairs, and he puts and they all stop, and then the other side is, and he puts the cane in, and he's singing the song, and he's making sure that they all stay behind him. Nobody gets to go flying forward and run into everything. So I thought it was really neat.
Apparently, he whacked a few of the kids during some of the takes.
Right. It's like I said, this was one of several parts where I kind of felt like he was trolling them, because it was like he kept getting them all wound up, like he knew they were wanting to rush forward and go enjoy it, and then whap. Nope, you gotta wait.
Well, definitely sounds like something Willy Wonka would have done.
Well, and I'm sure because Mike TV was kind of a brat. I'm sure if he got whacked, he kind of deserved it.
Probably was the most likely one.
Except for Charlie, deserved it.
Oh, and of course, out of all the actors, yeah, Mike TV was the one that was considered the brattiest as far as the rest of the cast too. So, but what did y'all think of the room itself?
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just thought
Chocolate River,
the
Chocolate River.
waterfall.
I wanted one of those giant gummy bears.
I wanted the chocolate waterfall. You know, that was just the first thing I saw was the chocolate waterfall, and it was like nothing else mattered after that. Like, you know, my eyes just like didn't even acknowledge anything else.
I feel this is very much sort of like the moment of the color change in the Wizard of Oz sort of period moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything
kind of
grabbed really before then.
I think kind of like the Wizard of Oz, it does come off as a little garish and fake. This room does. I can see how if you look at it the right way, it looks awesome. And as a kid, I'm sure it probably looked awesome.
Oh yeah.
Coming to it as an adult, you're like,
I don't know a kid that wouldn't want to be in that room as it was. Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, like if you're not looking at it like I said, looking for, you know, going, well, this looks kind of painted, or this looks kind of, you know, if you're just looking at it like through what it actually was, what it was supposed to be. Well, hell yeah, I'd want to be in a room like that for a little while.
Hell, it's like that moment. Yeah. It's like that moment in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where they find that big giant Oreo and rush up to it. You know.
Well, I mean, look at the. This was in 1971 as well, so keep that in mind. For 1971, that was a spectacular set to put together.
Right.
Right.
Oh, no
And,
doubt.
And they had the real candy and dispersed amongst the fake looking stuff, which was kind of cool.
Although one thing that's interesting, we were talking earlier about how apparently Augustus was not a fan of knockwurst or bratwurst or whatever it was, and they kept making him eat it. I think I read, was it Julie Don Cole of Veruca apparently doesn't like chocolate, which is
Yeah,
just
she had said that
insane,
she
but
had
it's like,
slowly gotten to like it a bit better. There was
right.
one thing they were talking about, like I can't remember which one it was, where they're getting some of the candy that they're eating, and they said it was like Turkish delight or something, and I can't remember which scene that was in. Which was it's like Turkish delight. That was
Which is ironically a
good
pretty.
Funny.
I was about to say, ironically, that's a pretty unimpressive candy.
Well, believe it or not, it's been used in several films, including the Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah, that was a big plot point there.
It really depends on who makes it and what kind. If you're talking like mass-produced, lower quality, yeah. But I've had some fairly high quality, and it's really good.
I saw a meme the other day, and the caption was, C.S. Lewis really thought somebody would betray their family for this crap, lol, and it was just a picture of the kid eating the Turkish delight from the movie.
Well, let's see. Of course, some of the things that they said they had like gummy leaves that were there, like the one ear on the gummy bear was edible. Just like little edible things scattered about. The river was apparently Augustus himself talked about it as like, dirty water.
That was a river made of Nesquik.
Well, they tried to do a chocolate river, but originally they had the mix wrong, and apparently it looked like blood.
Yeah, they turned red. But apparently they just used the color powder and some powdered milk to make the effect. So apparently it didn't taste like or smell like chocolate at all, but
it was edible.
Well, I guess it's depending on edible as some things that you wouldn't want to eat, but yes.
You can eat it, but you wouldn't want to.
But of course, Augustus isn't supposed to touch it, which they should have had a nice sign on there, don't drink the water.
I was thinking, like, why wouldn't you have like a fence up but then, no one was allowed in for a longer time, so.
That was one of the ways that he was. That was one of the ways that he was trolling the kids, but it was also a part of his test.
Yeah,
would
notice everything every time the kids did something where he'd tell them not to do it.
Oh, he would. He'd be like
murder.
He wouldn't try to stop him. He wouldn't, like, call security or
don't do that.
And of course, when Augustus fell into the river, she was like, won't you call the police? And he was like, help police.
Oh no, he's doing it like monotone. Help.
Yeah, that was
police.
Hilarious. That was he said so low.
Right.
Help police.
Well, he didn't want him touching it, but when I was a kid, I always thought he pushed him in. He doesn't push him in, but he doesn't exactly. He stops himself from helping him from falling into the river.
Yeah.
But I love how they're going up the pipe, and of course, the only one that seems to be disturbed totally by this was his mother, because the rest of them were like, "Ooh," and even Grandpa Joe's like, "Hey, you ever want to see how a bullet comes out of a gun?"
Yeah.
Right.
That's like the best part.
Which, to his benefit, they used a dummy to do the shooting up part. So it's impossible for him to be marshmallows because he's going to the fudge room.
Sounds like a place where the kid would love to be.
Right.
Yeah, not if he's being thrown into the boiler though.
Yeah. You're gonna boil him. I know it. Like,
Ah, the child broilers. Is this where that came from?
There you go. And then, of course, the Oompa Loompas make their first appearance here and their first song.
Yep.
Oompa Loompa doo-ba-dee-doo.
Which, even back in those days, they felt using pygmies was slightly insensitive. Which that's a far step in the 70s. Being that's a bit much. But which the book apparently used pygmies, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Pygmies, yeah.
I think Oompa Loompas were the better choice.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
they certainly
actually, the
became
book got
iconic.
protested by the NAACP over that.
What?
Right, yeah, back in the 60s, the book got protested by the NAACP over
Oh, the
the use
pygmy
of
thing.
pygmies. Yeah.
Oh my.
Oh, and I'm pretty sure that if anybody actually took notice of the original source material today, which they may, with the new Wonka movie that they're working on, I am sure that anybody in the current generations reading that will be like out in arms to try and ban it.
Well,
Yeah,
there's
didn't-
already a
didn't
fair
Roald
bit
Dahl
of
have-
talk.
I think didn't Roland Dahl have like questionable politics?
Very questionable.
Yeah.
He was considered anti-Semitic by many people. And he was also considered a bit of a prick by a lot of people, too.
Yeah.
And
Which is why
supposedly, of course, with this film, he was active in its making. He wrote the original screenplay, but then when they rewrote it, it pissed him off, and
He also, I
was gonna say,
don't think he would sign up on any film adaptations of his work for a long time. I noticed that a lot of his stories, an overwhelming number of the antagonists are women.
yes.
Which kind of makes you have to wonder how he felt about them.
Well, it
Well,
was
there-
the time for women's suffrage, basically, and vote. So,
Well,
Or
I mean,
rights,
they
yeah.
did have a Freudian therapist in the Willy Wonka movie, and Freud was notorious for his hatred of women.
Freud was notorious for a lot of things.
Freud is from somebody from the mental health field. I can tell you right now, Freud is a quack, and I detest the man. So I tend to find any point to jab at him.
oh come on, he was great in Bill and Ted's.
Yes, he was. So, of course, what do y'all think of the Oompa Loompas and their song?
I like the Oompa Loompas. I thought they were cool. I do remember the first time seeing them and thought, what y'all thought they were neat.
I remembered thinking while watching it this time that some of the Oompa Loompas may have actually starred in the Snow White movie from Canon films, the 80s version.
I remember that. I remember seeing that one.
So I remembered it's one of the faces of them reminded me of one of them. So I wonder if that's actually possible that one or two of them might have actually played in that.
Well,
But
those of you that had more information, I always heard that they couldn't speak English at all.
Yeah, they were all German. They had a hard time finding the right casting for them because most of them couldn't. So they had to get like one or two of them to translate. It was, I think, 9 men and 1 woman, or something like that. That was only one female one.
Yeah, I felt the Oompa Loompas. I actually, they creeped me out. I mean, they didn't scare me, but this definitely. I just felt them being creepy.
I detested them as a kid.
Even as a kid, I felt they were creepy. Did not think they were cute or like munchkins or anything. You know, they just I don't know, it's because they were orange or what.
I found the newer Oompa Loompas to be more creepier.
Every
aspect
of that movie
They
was
I
were
would say rock. I don't know what you guys' problem is.
I wasn't much older when I saw the newer ones, so I was an adult, so it didn't even think of it.
Those were all one actor, and that
Yeah.
I know.
But when I was a kid, the Oompa Loompas definitely thought, and like I said, I grew up, watching all kinds of horror movies and stuff, and the Oompa Loompas creeped me out. So,
I mean, to me, I hated their songs because they were all so judgy. And yes, they're trying to teach a moral,
Yeah,
but
they're
teaching it from
catchy.
They are catchy, but they're definitely teaching it in a condescending way.
well, definitely with the TV one, read a book, and there's no ads in it.
IQ of 3.
I love. They always act like it's exclusive. Like if you love TV, you can't love books, And I love both. I do both equally. So it's just. I don't know why it's always been that trope that
Well,
if you.
I have to argue there's no ads in books. I've got a couple books that do have ads.
Yeah, there you go.
Definitely ads in comic books.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was Malcolm Dixon who played one of the Oompa Loompas. He played an Ewok warrior in Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. He played in Time Bandits as Strutter. He played in
I remember there was
Snow
one
White
famous
as
one,
Diddy,
yeah.
and Flash Gordon as a dwarf. And Netwin in Willow. So
Nice.
and Goblin Corpse in Labyrinth. So
So, with that, we get to the scene where they are taking the boat ride. A nice, gentle boat ride, which I did not find this creepy as a child, but I understood why. And I don't think anybody here said they found it creepy at all, but I think that most people could see where the creepiness could come from, because there was
Yeah.
some disturbing imagery.
Yeah,
I
like I
do
said, especially with
remember-
the speech. His speech with the imagery.
Yeah.
I could definitely see it. Like I said, if I was on a boat ride, and his character suddenly was giving that speech like that, it was just definitely freakiness in it.
He's almost shouting at the end. Brittany, you're
He is
saying something?
shouting.
I do remember back when elementary school, we watched this as a movie, sort of like at the end of the year. And the teachers actually kind of fast forward that scene, not to scare the kids. And I was like, what are we scared about? It's a
Really?
flashy moment.
How long ago was this?
I was in elementary school, so that would have been 30 some years ago.
Okay, because I remember watching it. I remember watching it in fifth grade during the holidays back in the late '90s, and they played it straight through.
Well, this was the teachers controlling the VCR, and not a television show of it. So I mean, this was the teachers saying, "Oh, well, we need to not fast forward this moment." It's like, okay.
And I've heard that there were cuts with more disturbing imagery projected, but they had tested badly.
Another thing to note: they did a Tom and Jerry remake of this movie, and they supposedly made this scene even scarier in the Tom and Jerry remake.
Oh my! I've only heard Nostalgia Critic talk about it, which I don't like Tom and Jerry on the best of times, so Now, looking over, so we get past the river scene. Any other commentary on the river scene?
Just the fact that I think the reason why we got so many images is the fact that I think it was playing on everybody's fears and everybody's nightmares,
Right.
and that's that's why everybody was so creeped out because their nightmares were coming to life.
Yeah, they had that
So-
Slugworth thing come like right
Right.
into the face even.
And I don't know if anyone mentioned it. If they did, I apologize for missing it. But I had read that we touched on this earlier with some of the other scenes, but this was one scene where they had not given the kids advanced warning. So some of them legitimately thought Gene Wilder was losing his mind, and it scared the hell out of them. And I'm like, I thought that was great.
And the apparently one of the
Get
things
wrecked.
that the Violet was disliking about it was the thing where they're talking about, here, you can spit in different colors, and spitting is a nasty habit. I
Yeah,
know
she's
a worse
picking her
one.
nose.
And she did not want to be on TV picking her nose because she would look a little bit less ladylike there. But
Yeah.
apparently Mel Stewart
Well,
said, yeah, I want you to get 2 knuckles deep.
Well, and also, again, she had that crush on Charlie,
Yeah.
and she, yeah.
Yep. And it's like, and it was my day with him. Oh, like I say, that commentary was delightful to listen to.
Sounds
So
like it.
of course we get to the end of the boat ride, and we're in the experimental lab where Violet meets her end as a blueberry.
Well, actually, we also get a part where Mike TV like kicks his teeth out with something.
The exploding candy. And you get the introduction to the everlasting gobstoppers. All that happens in this kind of experimental lab that they're doing.
I do want to mention the fact that that there are these like laundry looking like contraptions in the room, and I love how he just like throws some shoes in there, and Veruca's father is like, what are you doing that for? And he's
Gives him a
like, it
kick.
needed. Yep. And then the next one was he like acted like it was too hot, and she was like, what? It was too hot? No, it's too cold. So he gave it a jacket.
Yeah.
You also get the butter gin reference when he's like, liquor's better.
Liquor is quicker.
Right. Right.
But and he sings a little thing, but jingle while he's doing a little thing on the bike. It's just a lot of that wackiness and zaniness of the Wonka factory all on display. Apparently the wasps, and they used wasps instead of honeybees for that scene with the thing, and apparently they got out and they stung the heck out of Mike TV.
Yep.
Oh no.
That was definitely freaking almost on the borderline part of scary with all seeing all those bees or wasps. Which I thought they were bees, so hearing wasps is even worse.
Oh, wasps are nasty.
Oh, I know. I got stung by one once.
Oh, I got stung by 2 this summer even.
I've been stung by these, and yeah, I was a kid when I got stung by the wasp. Oh my god!
Wasps are nature's assholes.
Yeah, they definitely. Bees sting.
No, those are yellow jackets. They are.
Tammy is no stranger to bees.
The bees.
Oh Lord.
There's actually a lot of wasps that are perfectly nice and harmless, but yeah, yellow jackets are friggin' assholes. Ugh.
I somewhat disagree.
My
about the
family,
friendly wasp theory.
like 3 generations have been allergic, and I was driving somewhere one day, and all of a sudden I felt something, and I looked down and I was being stung. It came in my truck while I was driving, and I didn't know if I was allergic or not because I had never been stung. So there was a Walgreens right there. I pulled in the Walgreens. I had that the thing was on my down by my feet because I shoot it off of me. I took my floor mat out and I squished the living daylights out of the thing. And then I went into Walgreens and I told them what happened because I didn't know if I was allergic or not. And actually, they were really nice and accommodating. The one lady asked who my doctor was, and she got a hold of my doctor, and they went and got me Benadryl and some water and had me sit down. And then I talked to a nurse, and it was like, wow. So I ended up going to the hospital and getting checked out, and boy, was the guy nurse that was there was really cute.
Oh, as a highly allergic person, you absolutely learn to love the fact of Benadryl helps.
Well, he said that he didn't. Said I had a mild reaction. So evidently, the other 3 generations before me were very allergic, and evidently, I am not as allergic as they are. But I still don't want to get stung.
Yeah, getting stung sucks.
But of course, that's all part of a machine that I thought the machine was pretty cool. What they did, which makes the gum. And of course, the everlasting gobstopper is just as a touch point. Is a candy that you can suck on it forever, and it does not get smaller. It's just you only need one, which is definitely different from the candy, the everlasting gobstoppers, which aren't really as good as jawbreakers when it comes to lasting length.
Well, they are jawbreakers.
Did anyone notice his hesitance to give the gobstopper to Charlie?
I think he was looking to see if Charlie would ask for it himself, but it was Grandpa Joe that asked for it.
Yeah. Really, what about Charlie? Yeah. You're right. It might have been another test. Because he did he gave it to everyone but Charlie, at first,
but yeah, they were introducing, of course, this special gum, which is highly experimental. Which again, he warns the child again. He warns Violet, "Don't do it." It's
she does
just
it anyway.
gum.
And she's like, I'm feeling the full course dinner coming on right now. Roast beef. And he's like, how about potatoes? Her father says, and then she starts to blow up and grow blue.
Honestly, full course dinner gum sounds really disgusting. Actually,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Well, they have turkey flavored soda, so I guess some people have them.
I actually once found bacon flavored soda at a grocery in California.
Oh,
I've had bacon flavored soda. It's good stuff. Well, not great though.
I mean, to bring up how he actually stops, he's doing the like he did with Augustus, where he was like, "Oh no, help, police, murder." This time he's like, "No, stop."
Yeah,
He's doing this mild,
I love how he does that with Mike TV as well. It's like it's just there's no he's giving them a warning, but there is absolutely no enthusiasm to it. And you can tell that he doesn't give a shit.
He usually he has more energy in the first warning usually. It's usually like, he gives it a good try for the first one, but as they go on, he's realized they're just going to do it anyway. He's just like, whatever.
Yeah, the first one, he gives it the old college try. And then,
yeah.
There is definitely a biting tone and sarcasm behind almost every line of his.
Well, and then, of course, we get I don't know why, but I loved this line that Violet's father gives. My daughter's a blueberry.
Now,
Violet, you're turning violet.
Did anybody else originally think that when they're rolling her around that was actually a dummy? That was my original thought until I found out later that no, they'd actually put her in a suit and they were rolling her around.
I actually was thinking
bang the hell out of her head.
It was the girl in the suit.
I thought it was a dummy for part of it, not all of it, just for part of it.
Same.
Well, that was her out of her head.
For some reason, I always got a kick out of them rolling her down the hallway.
Right. And then I like how after she's gone, and her father goes racing after her. I love how he turns to the group and says, "Shall we roll on?"
I like how the actress had actually said, "Yet none of them had their blueberry driver's licenses." Apparently, also with the makeup, and they did use blue makeup for her face later on. Apparently, that came back a few days later in school, where it seeped back out of her pores. So she was extremely embarrassed in class because she apparently turned blue in the face and hands in front of the kids in the middle of class.
Oh no, she's gonna blow up.
Now, if I was a kid that age, and these kids are all like 12 and 13, except for Mike TV, who was 11, I'd imagine that would be a delicate age to have something like that happen.
Yeah, exactly. Probably embarrassed because probably a boy she likes is in this class or whatever. Besides Charlie, because I'm sure there was more than one.
After that, we get the fizzy lifting drinks, which is right before the wallpaper scene that Dave knows. There, but where he's like, these are experimental. People just keep flying off and all that stuff. I think it was too powerful, I believe, is what he said.
Yeah, it says too powerful, and they're like, "Can we have some, please?" Like, no. And
it's Grandpa Joe again doing what he does best, getting them in trouble.
yeah.
Well, he's been so long that he's been a kid that he starts being a kid too.
This is actually one of the liberties taken from the book, because in the book, fizzy lifting drinks are mentioned. They pass by the room, but they never take a drink.
So that scene did give me an intense feeling because I knew where they were going when they were flying like that. I saw that fan.
No, yeah, me too.
And I was like, do you guys not realize what's above you?
Right. But you notice when they got to the top, I mean, they're all worried and stuff, but they both grabbed a hold of, like, the bars. So, like, they stopped themselves from going into the fan. I mean, obviously, it's still freaky. It would still be freaky, but they did stop themselves. So it's not like they could have probably held it for quite a while if they hadn't burped right away and started to go back down. I also noticed that Charlie had to burp a lot more to go down as far as Grandpa did than he did. And I'm not sure if it was because I was watching on TV or the soda, but I was drinking Diet Root beer, watching them burp, and then all of a sudden I burped. So just wanted to mention that.
And a funny tidbit. Remember when I was saying they told him they were going to voice over his singing, and they didn't. They actually voiced over his burps.
Really?
Which is funny. I thought that was
funny.
Yeah, they could stand his singing, but they couldn't stand his burps. So it's just not much.
Okay. Burps are too much for them.
Anything else on the fizzy lifting drinks?
Not that I know of.
Apparently, that machine in the middle was actually metal with some sharp stuff on it.
Yeah,
So,
it looked like a monster, like a monster mouth was going to get them. I mean, when they were up high and looking down at it, it looked exactly like it was a giant mouth with teeth and stuff.
I can imagine being a little bit disturbed by that myself. I'm above it and thinking, "Oh, I'm going to fall and I'm going to be impaled on this."
Yeah, that's what I was thinking watching it. It actually made me think that they were in trouble more seeing that than the fan above them, because the fan, yeah, it was there, but it didn't seem menacing because you could see that there was bars and they wouldn't go right into the giant fan. Where there's some of them other movies where people are going towards the fan where shit, they're gonna get killed, But I didn't have that feeling here.
I thought it was interesting how they actually got left there,
Yeah.
They didn't, he didn't seem to notice, that they stayed behind. He went forward
noticed
with the rest of them. And
Well, he's got eyes everywhere. That much is made evident. It's more if he just wanted to watch, see what they were going to do.
Yeah.
Not to
Right.
mention
So I
that
just
he
thought it was
doesn't really.
interesting that he just let them do that.
You don't tell the rats that they're in a maze.
Right.
Exactly.
But you
He gave
notice
them
he
the warning.
also didn't really. He did basically wait for them to catch up. It's
Yeah.
not like they walked into the middle of something.
And they got to try out the wallpaper. So, Dave, you were wanting to talk about that scene earlier.
Yeah. And I know it's kind of iconic because Forrest mentioned it earlier. The snozberries taste like snozberries. What the hell is a snozberry?
I was thinking the same things as you said, Snodder. I'm like, wait, what?
I actually, when I worked in a restaurant, there was one of the cooks who would say that frequently. And that was actually one of the pop culture references that I was exposed to again and again before seeing the film. And then when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, okay,
Now,
I got
what
it."
was that? What was that? What did he say afterwards? Where he held Veruca's face like that with the tongue out. It's like we are like we're the dreamers or something like that. I can't remember what he said. It was one of those little whimsical things that he threw out. I can't think of what it was. Gene Wilder is an amazing actor for how he can go from being nonsensical to outraged to deadly serious at the drop of a hat. It is quite amazing.
It is. It is.
So they
And
go
even
to
creepy, like I said, that tunnel scene is the way he did it. His voice was kind of creepy.
and we do get another song after this. Veruca gets her very own song.
Don't care. I want it now.
This in the Golden Goose Room.
Yep, and the golden goose, and they're laying eggs for Easter. It's like, but Easter's for us. Shh, they don't know that.
Daddy, I
Stocking up for
want a
next year.
golden goose. Tell him I want a golden goose. And then he goes over to Willy Wonka. Okay, Mr. Wonka, how much is the golden goose?
Not for sale.
But I want it.
The educated egdicator, as they say, where they can judge whether the eggs are good or bad, and of course the bad ones go into the bin, and
How
the
appropriate she ends up in the trash.
if she was a bad egg.
And I love how
We definitely knew she was a bad egg. She
And I
stepped
love
on it.
how
I was like, she's gone.
I love how her father just like jumps in after her.
Yeah.
Well, he's kind of gaslit by Wonka, who's like, well, they only light the furnace every other day. Maybe, what is it lit today?
They may have a chance. I love how when the father jumps in after, the first thing he says is, "Well, he got what he wanted. She went first."
Exactly. Yeah.
Actually, Grandpa Joe is just about as sarcastic as Wonka himself.
Yep.
As bad an influence as he is on
I
Charlie.
do
he's
love
very
in the song that they're saying that the kid's horrible and who's to blame, the mother and the father, which and definitely in that case, I 100% agree. The father completely enabled his daughter to act like that.
I think that the Oompa Loompas are kind of like a testament to the time because I feel like there was a message they were trying to portray that parents and how they parent kids these days.
Right.
I got that now. I didn't get it then, but I got it now. Like I feel like maybe Roald Dahl in some way thought that parents don't know how to parent their kids.
And keep in mind, 71. We're talking about the culture that everybody identifies with the 60s was still very much in force because it was the late 60s, early 70s that free love and hippie culture was at its strongest.
Flower power.
So, and there was always the counterculture, which was a very judgy culture in itself, saying basically, you need to do this, you need to be proper and do that. So I could see that as that counterculture at work. Well, but we did get rid of Veruca, and apparently that was also one where they had the most takes of any scene where she was doing that thing where she was tossing up the wrapping paper and such. Apparently they had to do that.
Boxes.
Yeah, 38 takes according to what they said.
39.
That's a lot of takes.
Yeah, it is.
So anything else from the rest of y'all or about this scene?
I mean, 39 takes, that's a lot of film to use too. Having done some film work before, I can't imagine how much that had to be edited out.
Oh.
Well, you definitely have to see how much of a brat she really is in this scene.
Yep.
Yep.
Now, from what I saw, the actress was not as bratty, which was good, or at least not as bratty as Mike TV. But we get rid of him a little bit later. But first, a car ride.
Oh yeah, the wash machine, or the
ginger ale, ginger beer. What was that?
It's got more gas than a politician.
I mean, for what it was, it drove very slowly, and it was a very messy ride. Definitely not perfected yet. I think my gunpowder engine was a better idea.
Well, that's when they said, why don't we just walk? And he's like, walk? God wouldn't have invented roller skates.
And that's when he sings off key while they're going through it.
Yeah. And of course, the thing is shooting them with foam, which is supposed to be fizz, but it's actually flame retardant. And apparently, Mike TV's character had a bad allergic reaction to it too. But my goodness, it just struck me. Wonka is much like that GM on a D&D game that says to the player, "Are you sure?"
Right.
Just that those words usually are indicator of
he's you.
Like you're doing the wrong thing, and I'm not going to tell you you're doing the wrong thing, but yeah, heed my warning, or you're screwed.
He's the type of voice that you want on your GPS these days.
When I've warned a group in there by saying that, and they do the stuff anyway, and then they get beaten all to heck. Yeah, I take that Wonka like
by bears.
Too.
You've had it done to you as well. I recall eating a piece of candy.
Oh well, that I knew was going to blow up in my face, but I didn't care if the character blew up. It was a fireball candy, literally. Oh, sometimes it's worth it.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta see what the hell happens. We gotta roll the dice.
Just like the kids in this film,
literally and figuratively.
But does anybody have any thoughts about the Wonka wash or the car?
It's a pretty cool looking car, and I'm guessing for the actors it must have been a lot of fun to film, getting hosed with all that foam.
Well, they didn't seem like they liked it very much.
Suds.
I mean, it's literally hitting them with fire extinguisher fluid, and apparently it was extremely cold in the middle of winter.
I imagine that was not a pleasant stuff to put over.
Yeah.
It goes to show that there was not, proper handling on movie sets at that time.
And apparently, like I said, the character is Mike TV. He got like an extremely bad rash from it. It turned out he was highly allergic to it. Oh yeah, I don't think anybody was having fun with
Man, Mike TV wasn't really having fun either on the set, I guess.
Sounds like Mike TV sucks.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, most of the people around him apparently didn't like him because he was acting like a brat on purpose. Even when the cameras weren't rolling. So you get to, of course, Wonka Vision, which the TV obsessed, where the idea that they developed the teleportation method through TV, and
look at those Skittles in the air.
Well, it's teleportation / shrinking as well.
Well, yeah, they couldn't figure out how to do it the right way, so they always had to make it, because things are so much smaller on TV.
Well, can you shrink a person? Why? Yes, I think we can.
It just takes it over.
Did you notice that each one where the kid ended up getting screwed over, they were all seem to be built for them?
Apparently, there was a line in this one that and I think there's one that Violet did a while back, where they had said they'd been around Veruca's character so much that they had started saying words in her accent, and that if you listen carefully, you can see it in some of their pronunciation.
Oh, you definitely hear it in Mike TV, this last bit.
Yeah, he says something. I can't remember what it was. But, things don't work out very well for him.
Nope. So he ends up going inside his mother's purse, and from what I understand, he called the Oompa Loompas over and said, "Take the mother and the child to the stretch room."
The taffy pole.
Yep.
Yeah, the mother faints and Oompa Loompas carry her off.
Well, she was through with him at that point. She was like in punishment mode until she found out that they were going to stretch him, and then of course she was like fainting.
Did you just call them Goombas?
Goombas.
I think I like that better than the Oompa Loompa.
Any other thoughts on the end of Mike TV?
I think I like that theory that it's like it's like what happened to them was almost like tailored punishments, because that's very Dante's Inferno kind of.
Yeah,
I like that.
If you look at the TV kid got it by the TV machine, the gum girl got the gum, and the fat kid ate everything. Chocolate river. Just they were all seem to be tailored.
What you don't get in this film, you get in the next film, is when you see them leaving the factory afterwards.
Yeah, like Veruca.
They did that in the. I saw the new one like once a long time ago, and it was just ass. So
I need to watch it again just so I can compare. Now it's been some time.
I would say that actually the whole scene and seeing them come out of the factory, that was actually a moment from taken directly from the book.
What's sad is that I keep thinking the problem is I keep mixing up scenes from that and Epic Movie, because Epic Movie drew heavily from it, and I've seen both so long ago. I mix them both up now.
Well, although to be honest, Crispin Glover would have been probably been a good Wonka.
So we end this with him like ending the tour saying, "Well, too busy. You can show yourselves out." But they go back. They decide, well, wait. What about his chocolate? And go in his office, which is also very odd. Everything is cut in half. And he says, "Yeah, you guys screwed up just like the rest. You tried the fizzy drinks. You contaminated the ceilings and all that stuff. You're gone." But Charlie does manage to prove a point, as Grandpa Joe is all like, "All right, we're gonna take that gobstopper like right to Slugworth. And he's like, nah. He finally doesn't listen to his grandpa, which is probably for the best.
Yeah, it's a good time to not listen.
And leaves the gobstopper there, which of course Willy Wonka turns around and is like, you won. You managed to show me that you did this unselfish act, and you're going to be my heir. And not only you, but you and your family can move into the factory, and I'll teach you how to run it, and you'll get all the chocolate and such. And then, of course, they do the glass elevator, which takes off into space around. And
yeah.
And that ends, unless you want to read the next book, which is the glass elevator. But what did y'all think of that whole ending montages?
There's another book?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, called the glass
yeah,
elevator, I believe.
I
Yeah, it is
was
the grass
plans to
elevator.
turn it into a movie, but they fell through because of this one.
Yeah, this one didn't do so well, so.
Well, it's because Dahl refused to give them the rights after he was
That
so
too.
upset with this one. I'm frustrated once again by Grandpa Joe with his behavior in that scene. But I do like Charlie's. You know, he's getting ready to go, and then he just thinks about it, and he just hands the gobstopper back, and you know, it's like I really thought that was a nice turn from him, a nice way of for the test to be won, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
I would have failed that. I would have been like, well, screw you. I'm selling this thing.
I gotta say, the moment where he tells them you get nothing, it's probably one of the most powerful moments in Gene Wilder's career. Just that one scene.
It's definitely good.
I know people who really love quoting that, like, just for random moments. Like,
Yeah.
you get nothing. Good day, sir.
Like,
My friends would say that a lot. Good day, sir.
The intensity of his acting ability is shown off very well there. Though that office is very impractical.
Very.
What?
Yeah.
You don't use half a sink?
Yeah,
Half a
that
safe
half a safe
clock.
was. I like how he still
I think
uses
he
the
had
door.
an ashtray.
And of course, what about the Wonka Vader?
It's pretty cool.
It
wanted one.
goes every which way. Like, it's not an elevator. It goes up. Besides up and down, it goes sideways and I don't know. He said all
Sideways and slantways.
every which way.
Now-
Anybody
I
else
know-
hearing that line from Independence Day? We can go up, we can go down, we can go from side to side.
I know the last scene where it's actually flying in the air. I don't know if anybody was in it, because I know it was hooked up to a helicopter as it flew up for them to film that scene. But
Mhm.
I'd be amazed if they put even stunt people in on that thing. Because I would be crapping myself on that thing.
So
you notice how the whole town, the houses looked exactly the same. And so I was like, oh, there's my house. I'm like, how the hell can you tell the difference? They're all the same. And I'm like, well, if that's true, then they look a lot better on the outside than the inside. Because the inside, his house looks so poor.
I would not have a problem until I looked down because the way that the elevator looked, it looked like exactly like that area in the house on the rock that you go out on like a ledge and there's just glass all the way across, and you're looking down. Well, that's kind of scary.
I would think just the movement alone would scare the hell out of me.
So the original last line of the movie was actually Grandpa saying "Yippee," apparently, but they decided to change it last minute and apparently the writer was not even working that night, but the director called and was like, "We can't end the movie like that. We've got to have something else." So he came up with that line for Gene Wilder to say, like, what happened to the boy who got everything he wanted? And he's like, "What? He lived happily ever after." Which is probably a better ending line than Yippee, but
that is a terrible ending line. Yippee! It's like, what the F is that?
Can you imagine that? He's just like, go out in this flying and you hear your grandpa yell Yippee, and then it goes directly to credits. I don't think it would have ruined the movie for me, but it definitely would be something we'd be talking about.
Well, I think it would have ruined the magic pretty good.
It would not have been great.
Any other thoughts on characters or plot before we briefly return to special effects and music?
There is one thing we need to note. This last scene is also where we learn that the man who was Slugworth that we thought was Slugworth is not Slugworth, and that he was a hired man under Wonka's control.
Yeah.
Yep, for him to more easily plant the tickets.
Exactly.
And I think that was a great business move for him too.
Oh heck yeah! he made a killing on that.
I find it interesting that Wonka was trusting anybody who was actually trusting someone who wasn't an Oompa Loompa to carry that out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Oompa Loompas honestly probably can't go outside without attracting a lot of attention. So,
we did get kind of a backstory from Gene Wilder's character, where he said
they come from the land of the Oompa Loompa land. It's like, yep, the hell is that?
Where they get eaten by the animals.
Snozwanglers and vermicious canids.
Is this the art?
What the heck is that?
This?
So he said, "Hey, you work for me, I'll keep you safe." And they say, "Yeah, okay, boss."
All I could think of during that moment was the conversation between in the Futurama parody that they did of this, where the Willy Wonka stand-in is talking to Professor Farnsworth. So I could fire my staff and hire Grunka Lunkas at half the cost? Oh yes, they think they have a good union, but they don't. They're practically slaves.
I forgot to mention the Slurm episode. That was also one of my previous encounters.
Slurm Mackenzie.
Well, and I gotta admit, it's much better than the whole original story of, well, in the jungles I found these pygmies, and so as the benevolent white conqueror, I took them under my care and brought them to civilization, where they work for me now. Yeah.
Is that really what it is in the book?
Essentially.
Dear God.
And it's actually I understand, even in 1971, it's pretty plain that even in 1971 they were going, just no.
Yeah.
And they let a lot of stuff go in 1971. A bridge too far in many ways. But any other notes that y'all want to make before we move into special effects?
I think we've covered everything.
And we've covered special effects pretty well, but did anybody want to throw in anything else for special effects?
I think I just gotta say a lot to to the set design and the different. I thought that some of the different rooms and whatnot were definitely spot on for this type of novelization of of the world. I just love the different scenes and the practical effects that they did throughout. I thought it was great.
All right. Anyone else?
I think one of the special effects, definitely. I mean, going back to what I noted on The Wizard of Oz, you definitely get the beginning of the film. It's very dark and gloomy, so they really chose the colors well until they got to the factories to make the area look sort of just like this miserable sort of European town.
All right. I agree. It's kind of good that they had the colors pop at the end there once they got into it. That room scene, I mean, that room is an
Indeed.
amazing feat. I mean, it may not have looked as good as it could nowadays with effects, but for 71, that was an amazing set to be crafted. So let's see. The music. Again, we've covered the music pretty in depth, but what are y'all's thoughts on the music?
I mean, it rocks. It's
Excellent.
it's also good.
Most of the background is like instrumentals of the songs they sing.
I mean, it's iconic in Hollywood history, basically.
Right. Most of it falls into the category of I wouldn't necessarily sit and rock out to the soundtrack on its own, but it definitely fits the movie very well. And it definitely, if you hear it, it immediately brings the movie to mind, you know.
I don't know. Some of those songs I could definitely see listening to the soundtrack on its own.
I know I've listened to Pure Imagination every now and then, so yeah.
I mean, I have Primus's album cover, Primus and the Chocolate Factory. They a few years ago they did a whole album covering the entire soundtrack.
Huh.
Primus and the Chocolate Factory. That I highly recommend it, especially if you like either this movie or Primus.
Primus is good.
I've only ever known Primus as the guys who did the South Park music. Like, I think that's the only Primus piece of music I know about.
They've done some odd stuff.
Yep.
Well, why don't we get on into favorite scenes and stuff? I think we'll do it a little bit differently this time to fit the movie. By the way, Dane's favorite scene is the tunnel scene. But what I'd like us to do is favorite scene, favorite song, and what's your favorite candy? So why don't we start with Tammy? What's your favorite scene in this?
There's plenty of them, but I actually like the tunnel. I think that's really neat.
Your favorite song?
Candyman.
And what's your favorite candy? Doesn't have to be from the film.
My favorite candy is dark chocolate.
All right. Excellent choice. Forrest.
All right, so favorite scene. Oh god, this is actually more of a small moment, but when they're all outside the factory, and like all the kids are talking to the press, and Mike TV says is saying hi to people back home, and he says hi, fish face. That's just one of those little moments that I always found funny. And you know, a lot. You know, Wilder had so many great moments. Like when actually my favorite line from Wilder. If God intended us, if good Lord intended us to walk, He wouldn't have invented roller skates. Favorite song, Pure Imagination, and favorite candy, Twix.
All right, Dustin.
It's a little difficult, actually. So favorite scene is, I guess I'm going to be a little basic and go with the tunnel because it seems to freak people out. And I like the little tunnel speech the most. I actually have that on a playlist on my iPod, and I used to listen to that kind of regularly, just walking around town. So when we got there, it's like, oh yeah, you know, I'm used to this, you know, thing that apparently terrifies people.
What about? Would you consider that your favorite song?
I think I actually like after having seen Candyman 2021, in which they did like a cover of it to like Sinister Ends, I think I actually like the Candyman song the most. Just because of what they were able to do with it in that movie. And it's like, wow, you can give it this whole like really dark, sinister tone. This is cool.
And to think it was written by a member of the Rat Pack.
Really?
Sammy Davis Jr., correct?
Yep. He wanted to do he wanted to be the Candyman.
Did he actually write this song though?
I think he did. I don't remember who the credits are, but I know that he was involved.
They
in
credit
He-
in the on
he did it.
IMDb.
He did,
They
and he not only
credit-
did it, he sung it too, in another version. There is a Sammy
Yeah.
Davis version out there.
Because they credit on IMDb that it was lyrics and music by Leslie Bercuse and Anthony Newley, who basically wrote the lyrics and music for everything in the movie. I know Sammy Davis Jr. wanted to do it. He wanted the part. But I didn't really. I don't know. They've got their stuff mixed up with someone else.
He might have signed his rights away to the song.
It's very possible that he did, that he sold it to them.
Yeah.
Again, that is an interesting bit of trivia to clear up in the future, to be sure. But I have definitely heard the story that he wrote it. So
I've heard his version recently. I think somebody threw it into one of the mods in Fallout 4.
Well, it's a good
where you
version.
can hear his version. Yeah.
Yeah. Wikipedia also says it was written by Bercuse and Newley. Yeah.
So what was it? So what was Dustin, what's your favorite candy?
I think I like the mini eggs that come out every Easter the most.
The Cadbury's?
Right. Yeah, the chocolate shelled mini eggs, like especially if you can find the dark chocolate ones.
Cool.
Which are somewhat rare.
So Kroll, what's your favorites?
It's hard to say that there's quite a lot. I mean, just all the scenes with Gene Wilder, So basically the second half of the movie, he just did such a great performance. As a kid, I think the blueberry scene was my favorite. The Violet, turning into a giant blueberry and floating up, it was just I don't know. I really enjoyed that scene. Favorite song, probably I guess Imagination.
Okay.
Although the Oompa Loompas song is probably the most iconic. Any of them, because just as soon as you hear Oompa Loompa, you think of those songs. And favorite candy is Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
Heck yeah. All right, Jake.
Well, I'm gonna have to say, as far as a favorite scene, I'm not sure that there's a particular full scene that really jumps ahead. There's like little moments. And one of them is when Mike TV's father says, "Not till you're 12, son."
Yeah.
And I absolutely love, and again, every time that one of the kids really is like getting ready to or has already done something that they really should not do, and Willy Wonka does that listless, "No, don't come back." That kind of like, I just love the way he does that. And there were a lot of great Wonka moments, but those probably would stand out as my favorites. far as songs, I enjoy the Candyman song, and now I kind of want to go back and rewatch that movie to see how the song was incorporated, because I did not make a note of it at the time.
It's in the intro.
But, oh, okay. I do remember that having a pretty awesome intro, so maybe that was why I thought that. But I also tend to confuse, like, Pure Imagination would probably be my favorite of the numbers, but again, like, the associations with other films, like, I can't play that song in my head without mixing up the lyrics with the Pure Inebriation one from the Family Guy episode. So it's like, well, I don't know. As far as favorite candies, whew, that's a tough choice. If I was these kids' age, I probably would have unhesitatingly said Twix. Reese's is the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. As far as mainstream candies, that might be the winner. But I have had some really good gourmet chocolates over the years. Couldn't tell you offhand what kind would be the best, but I've had some good ones.
All right, Dave, favorites.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go with Kroll on the blueberry scene as well, but I do like the tunnel scene. And as far as favorite song, Gene Wilder's Paradise song, but I have to say I really like the Oompa Loompas as well. I'm sorry, but those are iconic, and the way that they're just as sarcastic as Wonka is towards the kids. So, and favorite candy, it's a toss up between gummy worms and Reese's peanut butter cups.
I'd have been right there with you as a kid for the gummy worms. When I was a kid, I loved those. My teeth don't like them now, though. How about you, Brittany?
Well, as far as favorite scene, call me a sap for a heartwarming moment. I have to go with the Office scene. You go from the dramatic tension to Charlie making finally the right decision, which wins over, which is such a great lesson in the end to, be honest and truthful at what you want to do. And it makes a great lesson for the movie, and I have to love it. As far as best song, I still have to say Pure Imagination. It's the one I have in my playlist. Candy, I am torn between Sour Patch Kids and a candy, well, kind of candy that is a sponsor of mine, that is Built Bars. I absolutely love them. They're a bit protein heavy, but the fact that they're dark chocolate and have multiple flavors is just awesome.
Very cool. So for me, my favorite scene is the first one with the Candyman. Just because I love that scene. As a child, I always loved that scene, and I continue to love that scene. My favorite song is Golden Ticket. I don't know why. It's the one that I've got the most catchy for me. And I admit, I watched this movie without as much cynicism as I have as an adult. But of course, my favorite candy is between the Nutrageous and Outrageous bars from the Reese's. It just depends on my mood whether I want it to be surrounded by peanuts or surrounded by Reese's Pieces. So with that, I will hand this back to Dave, and then I'll come back after that to... Actually, no, sorry. Yeah, let's do outros. I forgot about outros. Yeah. And then we'll hand it back to Dave and then come back to me for the next week. So, Tammy, Tammy, where can we find you?
I enjoy coming. Basically, I enjoy coming on here and talking with everybody and learning more about each film. And I collect my own films, and I collect music. And in the summertime, I love taking out my 1972 Grand Prix and looking at all the other cars.
Very cool. Brittany, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Sorry.
there?
I was, yeah, I'm here. So my name is Brittany Dodson, aka Embria Arts. I do streaming. With art. I do live readings, video game streams, and hopefully this weekend we're going to be starting our anime review show called The Lesser Look. We're literally waiting for an episode to drop so I can start editing. So look for that coming out soon.
Very cool. Jake, tell us about yourself.
Sorry about that. I was away from the mic for a minute. I'm Kotobukijake. I am live here in Central Virginia, where I am an anime and movie and television fan, collector, what have you. I'm also the co-host of the YouTube channel SeptumSin versus the World, where we talk about all kinds of stuff related to physical media, collecting, all kinds of fun stuff. We had a nice little rambling chat last night with Dave and Mo, and went pretty well. And I know we're looking forward to our anime review of Count of Monte Cristo in a couple weeks. That's going to be good times. And meanwhile, I spend a lot of time trying to get stuff viewed, but also trying to start a new business. That keeps me busy much of the time, but I do like hanging out with these fine folks and talking movies, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Let's see here. Forrest, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. My name is Forrest Bennett. I'm an independent film producer and occasional actor based in Long Island, New York. Also a movie and comic book enthusiast. I have a YouTube channel where you can see me, where I talk about my latest movie pickups, and occasionally I do trailer reactions. You can also find me on another channel called Under the Radar, which is also a public access show based here in New York. Where we review review and discuss more recent movies, and we also do feature length commentaries, and also on another podcast called Nostalgia Time with Kid Champagne, where we discuss pop culture from the 80s and 90s. And I've always got something going on in the pipeline.
Sounds really cool. Kroll, tell us about yourself.
Well, I love watching movies, so I love coming on here, talking about them. I've always loved movies, and then talking about the movies I watch. Sometimes not as easy because the people haven't seen it. So I really like this because everyone has seen the movie, because that's what we do. I also do another channel with Dave and Tammy on Sundays, and I do other movies that aren't covered here, so it's fun. Also, I love reading and playing video games.
Very cool. Well, my name is SeptumSin of SeptumSin versus the World. As Jake said, we're all about the movies and the physical stuff here. We do great pickups, and we're doing some stuff to ramp us up a little bit more. Hopefully, when we get things a little bit more together, we might even discuss getting back to our new releases again, depending on how much people want that. But one of the things that we are starting back up again is with reviews. And I will be doing a new, more analytic format of review. I call it film psychoanalysis, which is going to be my first one is going to be this Friday on the Dakota Ray film Dante's I hate when that goes there. Shadow of Sin, which was a 2021 film, a pretty interesting one. And we have a Bad Ben discussion starting up at the end of the month. We're doing a monthly podcast where we talk about the Bad Ben series, and we're hitting them once a month. Always going to show up on the last Friday of every month. And I'm looking forward to having that starting off. We had a wonderful podcast there, and I look forward to many more as we take the journey with Bad Ben. All right, Dave, back to you.
Alrighty, my name is David Streggy. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore. So thank you for taking a journey with us through the films that we have voted for as being accidentally scary. We'll be coming back. I think this is the end of that, or where Septum will be talking about
Indeed.
our next films in order. But I also moonlight under a different channel called Delusions of Grandeur, where we also podcast on there as well. I also do my own video pickups and my own video reviews from time to time. So definitely check some of those out. Also, I've been interviewing an actor from Africa who is a very prominent actor in Ghana, Africa at this time. He's very prolific in the action. So I'll be having another interview with him coming up this next Monday. So that's pretty exciting. So check that out when you get a chance. But take it away, Septum.
Well, actually, it's going to be interesting because I'll be giving away this next feature thing to other people starting next week, as when we start our 5th anniversary celebration, which is going to be really fun. So we got some cool stuff to look forward to starting in February, but we've also got some cool stuff to look forward to at the end of this month, as we are celebrating a birthday here. So we are celebrating Tammy's birthday, which technically is the next month, but we're hitting it at the end of this month. And we are hitting a pre-show on the Delusions of Grandeur channel, which is Dragonheart with Sean Connery.
Ooh.
And we're following up with the William Castle film The Tingler right here on this channel. So try to join us next week for both, starting at the 9 p.m. Eastern Standard because of, 2 films.
All right.
Yep.
Alrighty, so thank you for listening. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are, and hopefully you all can have a happily ever after after these messages.
Don't eat too much candy.
Good night.
Not at all.